Hello, chat. I've seen this before. How many of you are aware of this exists? Just for the funnies. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen this before. But specifically, how many of you know who this person is? Not June, obviously. This guy. This one. This right here. This creature. How many of you know who that is? Probably none of you, if I had to guess. This is Britt. And Britt is one of the more, how do I say this nicely, infamous Lily A-loggers, because this person has been A-logging Lily for almost a decade. Who the fuck just joined my chat? Go away. You're not welcome here. You're at work. So Britt has been A-logging Lily for almost a decade at this point, I think. And she's not done it in a very good manner. I don't know how to say this nicely, but Britt is somebody who has a lot of controversy surrounding herself. She's somebody who I wouldn't necessarily platform as a source when it comes to Lily for many reasons. But recently, somebody released a document on Britt, which is this big old, let me just move it so you guys can actually see it. This big old creature has been released. I skimmed through it very briefly, and the first thing you'll notice is that it's written by somebody named Fennec. Those of you who have watched my Courtney video will first of all remember Britt because I threw in a little slight, to put it nicely, at her near the end, but also because I used Fennec's document as my source material. And a lot of people also know, yes, that document wasn't the greatest, we know, we've been made aware, but that doesn't mean that anything that was in the screenshots wasn't true or necessary to, like, take Courtney down. So Fennec has released a second document, this time about Britt. Britt has also been mostly aware of what Courtney has done. In fact, Britt was one of the people who coined that Courtney was a groomer and told Fennec to make that document and expose her, which I think is very interesting because Britt would like you to believe that she didn't do that. This is a really long document. I've zoomed in so it has more pages, but if you zoom out, it's 150 pages. But it also has tabs and a lot of screenshots, so I am hoping that we could get through it the same time we did the KP stuff. But I make no promises. So, before I even get into this, I actually want to show you guys something. Britt really didn't like my Courtney video. She went onto her little Tumblr going, Fennec's document being used as a source alone should be put up for scrutiny, but on top of that, trusting Fennec with reaching out to individuals and gathering information should immediately be a red flag for anyone curious about the video. So, yeah, Britt doesn't want you to watch my video. Britt thinks that my video is evil and crazy and awful, and I used screenshots that are verifiable in my, like, fucking document, and testimony that is only available because Fennec collected it. Fun fact about that crazy concept. We'll go back to the testimony in this document, by the way. But yes, Britt doesn't want people to know that Courtney's a groomer, because God forbid, we don't want groomers to be outed. That's evil. Who's Fennec? Fennec is, like, I'm gonna describe them as a chatter. They're basically the first person that outed Courtney way back when, with the testimony of the 13-year-old, with the document nobody likes, lol. Which, yes, not the best document, but good information nonetheless. Not a massively public figure. Most of what they do happens alongside Tumblr, I want to say. So yes, Britt wasn't happy with the video, and when questioned on being involved with the Fennec document, her response was to say, no, I didn't even know there was going to be a doc. His original idea was to make a video script, which I had my own reservations about and didn't want to be involved with. He dropped the doc, which was actually just the rushed first draft of the video script, after he kicked me out in the couple server out of the server. From what I understand, the video that just dropped is just a rehash of shit that's already been gone over, discussed, and condemned. The sheer lack of research that went into it and the sources that were used are just embarrassing. You want to elaborate on that? On my lack of research? You know, in the fucking transcripts and server logs that were never fucking brought out before. If you don't like the video, that's fine, I don't care. But I think it's somewhat ridiculous to condemn the video without even having watched it just because I used Fennec as one of my sources. Anyone who clicked on that video knows that has multiple sources. Many, many sources even. Clearly, she didn't approve of my video, and she's also claiming she was never involved. Which is crazy, because I'm pretty sure I can prove within like 2 fucking seconds that this person was involved. Because, I'm petty. Let me see if I can find it though. What's this? Is this a screenshot? Saying that she takes back all the reservations about the video plans? And approving of them? I mean, yes, Britt could technically have changed her mind, let's not delude ourselves here. That is a possibility, but, you know, kind of funny that you're sitting here being like, but we'll get into that a little later. I think Fennec mentions it in the doc. Warning! This doc contains discussions of, in no order of importance, CSA, racial slurs, transmisogyny, suicide, zoophilia, the distribution of child sexual exploitation material, CSEM. Great start, love that for me. Please continue at your own discretion. In the light of events of the past year, I feel it's time for me to break my silence. The first section of this doc will be pulling double duty. I'll be addressing the criticisms and allegations Britt's galaxy brain and community have been levying at me to discredit me and anything I posted, as well as make me a suitable target for whatever abuse and anger they've wanted to vent at me. It will serve as a valuable insight into how they construct the criticisms and what they consider evidence. These people aren't just deranged, their conjecture is both reckless and dangerous. When you see them throwing around allegations like race-faking, abuse of minors, and supporting/defending pedophiles, you need to understand the logic behind those allegations. Britt and her community are bitter, spiteful, untrustworthy, and incredibly reckless with their bad faith assumptions, which they call logic based on proof. The path she's leading her younger followers down is downright dangerous and needs to be addressed. So for those who don't know, because I realize that a lot of you probably have no clue who this person even is, Britt is running a Tumblr where she tries to run like the Lily Orchard critical community, essentially, where she points out a lot of Lily's flaws and dangerous things that she does, but she also points people face first into really dangerous content, as we'll get into later, and a lot of people who follow that, much like with Courtney, are children. So it's like this is why it's important for people like Britt to actually be careful with their platform, because if she's not, she's going to push children face first into really terrible content. Again, we'll get into this, it's all in this doc, but just so you know that this person has like a public platform that centers around calling out Lily. Probably, oh, I didn't mention that yet, but like, the reason Britt and Lily are connected is because Britt got catfished by Lily. If at any time you feel confused about who someone is in all of this, the Major Players tab is your friend on the left sidebar. Also, if you want to jump into the different headers of this doc, you can click on the Fennec Doc 2 tab again to open up the table of contents. Yeah, there you go. Like, this is Britt's Galaxy Brain, Cybermegas Nax, and Angel Wolf After Dark, a former friend of YouTube media commentator Lily, who put forward allegations of catfishing and sexual coercion against Lily. She was also a moderator for Courtney's original server. And then, yeah, you know who Lily is, you know who Courtney is. This is, we have Sheev, we have Nicole, we have Patchwork Hard, and I'm gonna make this clear right now. I have my reservations about Patchwork, but I'm willing to hear out whatever this doc puts forward. We have Dusk, and we have Xena and Poppy, who you also might remember from my video, and we have Fennec. Look at this creature. We'll go back to this if we need it. At the same time, I fully own that my first dog had major issues. I was younger and going through some very difficult things, so there are plenty of things I would have done differently. I want to highlight what I would consider fair and unfair criticisms of my work. From there, the doc will break down criticisms of Britt into 3 sections. How her time in my server ended and what led to her being banned. This also contains evidence of the behavior mentioned above. Her attempts to frame certain conversations with Lily as playing along, when they do more to reveal her extremely troubling perspective on minors and maturities. So this is important because you guys saw the my thumbnail. You guys have seen that there were messages in there that you guys are probably feeling a little icky about. Those are Skype logs between Lily and Brittany, and the messages I showed you very clearly come from Britt, and we're going to explore them just a little more. How Britt's penchant for cruelty and mishandling of her influence have led to the harassment of several minors, including a 17-year-old trans girl who, as a direct result of it, attempted to take her own life and ended up in the hospital. This includes how she continued to target her after being directly informed of why it was impossible for that person to do what she was accusing them of. I will back up my allegations against Britt with the evidence my team and I have compiled. Some of it is testimony, so you'll just have to make your own decisions here, but also keep in mind that the vast majority of Britt's allegations are purely hearsay with little to no evidence to back them up. As a final note, I would like to thank every researcher who aided in this creation of the document. Thank you for believing me, and thank you for believing in me. Let's get started. Fennec Part 1. Criticisms of the doc. Yeah, this is nice because I was hoping that this would come out eventually, because a lot of the times when Fennec's document comes up, which again is the document where we get the evidence of the 13-year-old being asked and told really worrying stuff by Courtney, that document ends up dismissed because it addresses some things that were just not as important, and because of its structural, integrity, which is unfortunate because Fennec's document is the only place you can get this kind of evidence, and it was dismissed, which is why Courtney was ignored for so long. So I'm glad we get to address this now. The doc structure. The document was intended to sort out our concerns about Courtney's behavior and increasing severity. I regret doing so now because people assumed from the first entries that the allegations wouldn't be as severe as they got. Between that and the doc being longer than it needed to be, to make the necessary points, it ended up getting largely disregarded as a result, ever since I failed the victims who trusted me. Yeah, that's the unfortunate truth. If I can give people advice about making Google Docs, it's always put your strongest point first. If you have long Google documents, nobody is gonna read that unless you keep their attention. So it's important to start out with what you think is the most important part. So if you want to talk about, let's say, grooming, racism, and then ad theft, do that in that order. Grooming first, racism, then ad theft. If you start out with the ad theft and then the fucking, racism, people are gonna stop reading before they even get to the grooming thing, which is awful. Especially for you if you're trying to call somebody out. So I'm glad that got addressed. I frequently debated removing my own experiences with Courtney from the document. My own experiences were nowhere near the severity of the experiences of others in the doc, and again, I feel it drew attention away from the people who had been harmed the most. Goddamn. The section regarding child safety was truly the most egregious example and was intended to be the focal point. I thought it would help to ease the reader into the more disturbing aspects of the doc, but my approach failed to do so. Britt's involvement. Despite what Britt has said since the doc came out, she was absolutely involved in its content. While she'd been banned from my community before the doc came out, I had already been pushed to include things by Britt, despite my initial discomfort of doing so, and did not want to anger her further by leaving them out. Instead, she threw me under the bus and used it to further discredit me. Here's Britt strongly denying any involvement in or pre-release knowledge of the doc. So this is the screenshot we just went through, where she says that she was never aware that there was going to be a doc or a video or whatever. Side note, the video contains logs that have never been released publicly and was heavily researched through testimonies of people who were present through all the events that the video discusses. Note that she's not even bothering to watch the video, just assuming that it's bunk because of what people have told her, without verifying it for herself. If you're familiar with the Poppy drama, you'll remember that she did the same thing when it came to the docs against her. So the video in question that we're talking about is my Courtney video. Here she is, over 4 months before the doc came out, back when I was still planning on it being a video. For those who don't know, Cybermag next is Britt. What a miserable little dweeb. Courtney, you are not the Discord badass you think you are. I know it's so shitty to be stuck in this loop of spite forever, but I gotta say, his behavior is so funny from the outside. Fennec says, I think I scared him out, so he had to make shit up. And then Britt says, I believe it's because people like Britt keep it quiet. Oh, bitch. And Fennec says, right, she's just erasing history. And then Britt says, Fennec, I take back all my reservations about your vid plans. So that was a fucking lie. By the way, KP, this is how you use memes properly, you stupid bitch. Britt agreed Courtney was a groomer. Here's Britt after the document came out, saying that what Courtney did was not grooming. I'll say it's unsurprising she would publicly take this stance, as she was a moderator in Courtney's original server. Actually, it was a little worse than this. Britt was actually present through most of the sections where I talk about the quote-unquote 18 plus section of Courtney's first server. Britt was somebody who was very aware of what Courtney was doing in there and was present in most conversations. Britt was also aware of the fucking, I think she was, I would have to go back, but I'm pretty sure that she was, aware of the time where Courtney posted a half-naked picture of herself with her ass out, and then later created the not safe for work selfie thread. Anonymous says, y'all are way too lenient with Courtney. And Britt says, getting real tired of people acting like everyone in this space is a monolith. Just because we aren't using the grooming word to describe something that was not grooming, but was still irresponsible and potentially harmful, is not leniency. Y'all don't know how I personally feel about her because I've tried to keep my beef with her out of the public eye. Britt a few months earlier, it's definitely fucking grooming. To be clear, Courtney's victims uses he pronouns. Britt says, it's definitely fucking grooming. Do you think Courtney has an attraction though, or is this just non-existent boundaries? Fennec says, I don't know, I really cannot tell, but I cannot fathom someone under any circumstances seeing this as normal. Britt says, if she never fully unpacked the childhood grooming and sexual abuse, that would do it. Like, she's acknowledged that it happened, but I don't think she realized how it's affected her sense of normalcy. I realize I'm being generous here, but man, I just don't really want another situation. Fennec says, I just kind of don't feel like she's getting any more wiggle room from me. Britt says, and that's fair, grant if you have seen more than I am. And then Fennec says, yeah, hearing from blank directly on this, it feels like if I give Courtney any more leeway than I have, then I'm not helping him. I've definitely been in the denial stage for a while on this myself. Don't get me wrong, I see where you're coming from. I just don't have it in me anymore. Britt says, my dude, if the blank convos were that bad, I trust your judgment. Fennec says, they were pretty bad, yeah. So here we have it right now, right there. This is the 1st of August 2024, if I have this right, where Britt admits that she thinks it's grooming, and this, you know, is not even 3 months later. Britt was happy to be credited as a collaborator. Here's Britt after the doc came out, claiming that she refused to be involved in the video doc from the start. And Courtney likely doesn't know Fennec, and I fell out, and I refused to be involved with this from the start. So I'm gonna get dragged into this. Here's Britt almost 4 months earlier, happily about being named as a collaborator. Fennec says, I'm bringing up how you helped me in the court video so people won't try to throw you under the bus by proxy. Fucking blank Steam Deck. Fennec says, exactly, and then Britt says, you're a bro, Fen. I have more, but this makes the point, and I just wanted to get proving that to be a lie out of the way. The drug abuse section. Exposing Courtney's alleged drug abuse publicly made people very uncomfortable. Of course, it was at Britt's insistence. While I do find it concerning that Courtney was allegedly abusing hard substances around minors, and even encouraging already vulnerable people to try them, it didn't feel appropriate because revealing someone's addiction struggles without their consent can worsen them. So yes, anyone who remembers this mildly from the Courtney video is Courtney was very open with what drugs she took and when, and this didn't just pertain to weed. She was often also talking about harder drugs, and she was also talking about being permafried, meaning she took so much weed or smoked so much weed that she could no longer get high. And she also talks about how it negatively affected her ability to sleep and eat and everything, and she was doing that around children. There's multiple times where children were present while she had these kinds of conversations. Britt says she's on fucking coke, so she should have been weighing on that decision before she decided to start doing that again. You don't mix kids with cocaine and untreated mental issues. Either the drug that makes you manic, paranoid, or untethered to inhibition, or safe space for abused minors. Can't have both. Very correct point, just wish it didn't come from Britt. I don't even know if we should come out with that. I'm torn, to be honest. Blank says, I mean, if he's saying it himself in the server himself. And then Fennec says, yeah, I'm just not sure I want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And then Britt says, it's not like anyone is shaming him for doing the drug or having addiction issues. So, Courtney went by he, him pronouns for a while, just so you know. Also, people can't hear you if you're speaking. Are you not? Oh, you might not. Oops.
I'm not allowed to say what I want to.
Okay, there you go. Now you can be heard. Sorry, chat. I didn't fucking know. I don't want to make her seem more responsible for any of the doc than she is, but I wanted to set the... Oh yeah, no, we have those, okay. Altered testimonies. Another point of contention has been the amount of anecdotal evidence. Most of the statements could not be backed with evidence at the time because Courtney had deleted the server they were on, something we were all deeply frustrated with. So it was a huge relief to find out recently that someone had backed up a majority of it. Even though the bigotry section was significant to the people it had affected, we had very little proof at the time. Now we do. One of the other accusations levied here by Foxhound was that the anecdotes were heavily edited. This is simply not a case. Here are a few examples of proof. Has segments with no evidence whatsoever and were admitted to have no evidence other than an anonymous interview that could have very easily been faked. This was the first accusation that was placed on the document, by the way, because this was more important than any harm to minors. Okay, so this is the criticism, I see. This one is from a minor. Oh, so these are the testimonies from the Fennec document that I used in the Courtney video, where, yeah, these were just the testimonies. We didn't have screenshots, but now we have screenshots, which actually helps my Courtney video. Yay! I'd asked Courtney the normal age range to experience an orgasm. He told me it was dependable, I believe. We started discussing how I was unable to do it in the way she did, so Courtney then suggested I use a t-shirt on my crotch, only to add, I'm going to be as clinical as possible with this because I don't want to take advantage of you. So you people have seen this before, but so this is from the document, which I used, and now this is the DM, the actual DM from the minor. Fantastic. As you can see, I didn't doctor it or ask for a rewrite. The only edits I made were to fix some spelling mistakes. The following testimonies from the other minor who contributed to the doc. These were the only 2 minors involved, and only by lending their testimony as seen here. So yeah, this is another thing. Again, proof that this is the same message that we have here. Fantastic. Also, for prosperity, here's the evidence to support this claim. Courtney, like, no puppy, your gnarled up, infected looking hole that wasn't supposed to be there is not going to be what changes my mind on pussy. Oh, Courtney, bro. So for those who don't know, Poppy and Xena or like Poppy specifically, is trans. So this is blatant trans misogyny, like, not even trans misogyny, it's just transphobia. What a sentence to say to a trans woman, bro. What a sentence to say about a trans woman. Like, okay, Courtney, okay. The person below is over the age of 18. Courtney's server didn't have a product but not safe for work section. Yeah, we remember this. So, again, proof that this is the same. As you can see, again, very little change. The less severe parts. Oh, yeah, this. I left this out. I left this out because it's the racism section of Fennec's document, and I didn't feel it was as important to include, given that I was talking about grooming. So, we're gonna have a little joy right now.
Yo, wait, Britt is based? Oh, I'm sorry. I have to go against you on this one. Sorry, babe.
Oh, shut the fuck up, bro. Also, Courtney, apparently the section with the gnarly hole that wasn't supposed to be there was set in the Poppy vent channel in the first server, the one that wasn't backed up. Poppy didn't see it, but a bunch of, like, young trans people that trusted Courtney did. Awesome. We love being transphobic around children. Okay, so considering Canada does everything to erase Quebec's French history and significance, they have a right to complain. And then deleted user says they suck. And then Courtney says, no they fucking don't. That's like saying black people are lazy or calling them porch monkeys. I'm in hell. I still think Courtney's racism was important because Lily allegedly fetishized the black teenagers, and a large portion of her alleged victims in Courtney's server at the time were black or otherwise people of color. I wanted to at least create distance between them and Courtney for their safety. As far as Courtney's tweets about breeding go, they were only significant. Why? As far as Courtney's tweets about breeding go, they were only significant because she encouraged minors to pay attention to her and knew that some followed her. I should have communicated this better. Courtney is an adult and can have whatever kink she wants, but her consistent exposure of said kinks to minors should absolutely be criticized. Yes. Good point.
What are we talking? I think it depends. I think we should be allowed to kink shame.
No, that's not the point. The point is that if you have a fan base that is mainly consistent of minors because you advocate yourself as a safe space for the minors that were hurt by Lily and other people, like Poppy and Xena, then you should probably not on main tweet about your breeding kink. That is probably not a bad...
My bad. That's not what I was referring to. That part I understood.
I stand by my belief that Courtney is a danger to children and adults. She has left nothing but a trail of misery in the wake of her coming into the public eye. While her initial testimony was a huge blow to Lily's brand and credibility, everything she's done since has done nothing but damage to the credibility of the anti-Lily Orchard movement. I'm embarrassed to have ever been publicly associated with her or her channel, and I hope that if nothing else she is permanently deplatformed for the sake of herself and others. I want to continue addressing criticisms, but first we need to talk about who many of them are coming from. Nicole, aka Foxhound. Fennec Foxhound is an account that's been relentlessly stalking and attacking me for over a year. This is who they are and how I know them. Okay, so fun fact, Fennec's Courtney Clout document is a script for what was supposed to be a YouTube video. How do I know this? He asked me to do voice acting for it. Okay, and then here's a conversation about the voice acting. Fennec DM'd me asking to do this after the literal first voice call I ever had with him. I'm willing to admit that I'm at fault here for not completely knowing the shallowness of Fenn's claims when agreeing to voice act for him. I also don't know how many other people he asked to do voiceovers for him. This is Nicole, one of Britt's group. They were both in my server and got banned for reasons I'll explain soon in the Brit Pod 1 section. Okay, so this is just this screenshot again. I see. When I requested her assistance, the doc was going to be a video that changed when I realized I was in over my head as far as editing videos, and my computer was not up for the task. Relatable. Each day I wake up to a fresh nightmare. The truth about Courtney Pete. Yeah, that's literally me drafting videos. Relatable, Fennec. By this point, I was already exhausted by the Courtney situation and wanted to move away from the space and public discussions of grooming altogether. You can see it in this earlier conversations. Nicole said, "You'll be missing how good it felt to put that bitch to the ground." Britt says, "More accurate, I actually started thinking about that recently. I've been at this for so long, it's gonna feel weird when it's finally over." Fennec says, "I'm dipping out mostly after the Courtney stuff, I think. I'm nearing the end." And then Nicole says, "It's the thrill of the hunt." Britt says, "I'm an endurance hunter, just had to wait for her to trip or get tired." And then Britt replies and says, "That sounds so ominous." And then Fennec says, "LMAO, it does nearing the end of my career with this stuff, lol." In this context, that bitch refers to Lily. Okay, so they're literally talking about, like, the thrill of the hunt for Lily. I would not describe going after, like, a predator as thrilling, but, you know, you do you. You do you.
Mustard on the beat, ho. Damn, he a freak, though.
I hate you. I'm going to kick you out of this call now. While I do not have anything good to say about Lily or wish to defend her in any way ever, the intensity of Nicole's language is important to note. The way she mentions the thrill of the hunt is an emblematic example of her deeply unhealthy approach towards this kind of thing, and shows that she actively gets a rush from it. This comes through in her own blog posts about me, whether or not it's out of any sense of justice or protecting anyone. She's clearly focused on the thrill. This also shows how extremely she words things, using a lot of hyperbole to stress her points, as you can see here in her defense of Courtney. Okay, so this is a Tumblr post. There's so much fucking Tumblr in this. Anonymous says, "So we all know that Fennec crashed and burned after his call-out document on Courtney failed because it was spiteful and he didn't care about the victims. That being said, was there any actual evidence of Courtney doing anything concerning behavior beneath all of Fennec's bullshit?" And Nicole replies, "Kind of. Nowhere near on the level Fennec was suggesting." That's a fun way to talk about, like, Courtney telling a 13-year-old how to masturbate, but okay. But there were definitely things Courtney has handled poorly. From what I saw and knew, Courtney has issues, but the ones that are an actual persistent problem weren't really examined in Fennec's document. Is Courtney a groomer? Absolutely not. This is wrong. Courtney is a groomer. Has Courtney said stupid things around minors they shouldn't have? Yes. Are those things call-out document worthy? Not really. Yes, they are. Courtney is not a danger in that way as far as I know. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. I have a 2-hour video on why Courtney is a danger to minors. Let's not, bestie. Let's not. Courtney specifically tried to make her server a safe space for minors. The fact that she was doing things like this is absolutely worth discussing and documenting. Okay, so this is Courtney suicide baiting. I'm not going to read that out because it's just horrific. Reminder that Bon was a minor and had, like, a mom bond. Like, Bon was literally referring to Courtney as mom. And Courtney is just talking about killing herself, and Bon is forced to comfort her. Like, that's all there is to that. That's just kind of horrific. While I do consider what Courtney has done to Barnabelle to be a form of non-sexual grooming, it doesn't matter what label you want to place on it. Correct, I agree, but also I agree that it is non-sexual grooming. Even if you don't want to call it abuse, it's objectively inappropriate behavior for an adult to engage in with a minor they know exclusively through the internet. It's also important to mention that this was not the only thing that Courtney did to Barnabelle, just to make that clear. Courtney was also having Barnabelle have access to very inappropriate chats that discussed rape and sexual abuse and worse in front of him. Yes, absolutely grooming. Again, if you have questions about this, please check out the Courtney video I made. I have an entire section of it. Beyond that, the most damning testimony is inarguably something that needed to be exposed. Look at what this kid went through because of her. Courtney oftentimes made me feel like I had to be more adult than I really was with how he'd encourage me to act just like them and stuff. And I would share personal details like how she masturbated as a kid to give me an idea and his own cup size. Why does she get worse? Why does Courtney get worse, bro? Yeah, that's pretty disgusting, gonna be real with you. Yeah, she's just not a nice person, to be honest. No, not really. I'm sorry you got caught up in the middle of all that. It wasn't fair that a grown-ass adult was doing that. I know. I mean, I know, but it's hard to really know, if that makes sense. I know I'm just a kid, but I honestly feel like I'm treated like an adult and sometimes feel like I should be one. And then Fennec says, I think you should be allowed to be a kid, full stop. And then this is the screenshot that talks about the rest. Hey, so I don't know if you understand the full context of the orgasm talk, but full context as to what Courtney suggested was something I didn't recognize was inappropriate until very recently. I told them about how I didn't know how to do it right, to which Courtney recommended using a t-shirt and asking me if I have a mirror to look down there. They told me it was going to talk about it as cynical as, well, this was probably supposed to be clinical, as possible to avoid taking advantage of me like how others have, her exact words. I wish I had the messages now to prove it. So we've seen this before. And yet, Nicole still tried to frame any associations with me as being enough reason to discredit Hidden Heroine's recent video on Courtney. So I have a video on Courtney if anyone wants to go look at it. It's 2 hours long. It goes through everything. If you're interested in it, there you go. Just so you know.
Who's that handsome man playing Space Marine?
Fennec's document being used as a source alone should be put up for scrutiny, but on top of that, trusting Fennec with reaching out. So I had it wrong. It wasn't Britt who said this, it was Nicole. But given Nicole and Britt are like besties, interchangeable, bro. The Fennec doc is the sole source for this kid's testimony. There's no other documentation regarding this from anywhere else that did not originate from my doc. What Nicole is saying here is that the evidence provided should be dismissed because I was the messenger. While I fully own that the document had many problems that I would now handle differently, the kid's testimony is not one of them. The fact that Nicole thinks that I should be ashamed for sharing it speaks volumes. This is correct, by the way. The worst person you know can still make a good point. It doesn't matter that Fennec's document was garbage, because at the end of the day, the screenshots in it had nothing to do with the doc structure being garbage. The screenshots were still what they were. And people disregarding it because, ooh, Fennec man bad, is really disappointing because it took away from this child being able to get their justice, because people just ignored the document. Until it came up again last year because we all hated Courtney and then I made my video. But again, this is like such a dumb point to make where it's like, oh, I don't like the person who made it, therefore they're wrong. No, bestie. Victim's consent. On that note, let's address another reason she tried to push to dismiss victim's testimony, the accusation that I violated a victim's trust and shared things without their consent. Anonymous asks, is there any history of Fennec being weird or problematic himself? And then Nicole replies, there's a few things I'll probably be making later posts about. One thing I can talk about as an example is how Fennec treated the minors' testimonies for his Courtney research. I thought we were supposed to dismiss that research, Nicole. I really hate how this is how a lot of victims are going to find out, but the truth is that there was no anonymity. Fennec shared everything with us unprompted in a Courtney event channel that he had in his friend's server, fully uncensored testimonies and chat logs of any incident he wanted to discuss. If you were someone that trusted Fennec with sensitive information regarding your experiences with Courtney, it is very likely Fennec shared that information with users you never met, including me, someone Fennec apparently hated and tried to say he had a history of racism. I did not share any screenshots without the content of the minors in those logs. There was a massive violation of his privacy from Courtney, and I had every intention of trying to give him the dignity and respect he deserves. Fennec says, I understand. Yeah, wow, she should not have been speaking to you like this. She isn't the same age as you, shaking my fucking hand. And then the minor says, you're free to share these screenshots, by the way. While I left out some for brevity and relevancy, there were plenty of things I was not permitted to share and therefore have never become public information. Nicole is proving once again that she doesn't actually need proof to make claims on her blog. Let's talk about the website. I didn't make this image for Courtney. It was specifically made to be as ugly as possible and passed around among friends as a joke because of its gross out humor. Basically, it was an edgy shitpost, and I admittedly included it to troll her. While it was partially out of spite, it was mainly to keep her retaliation focused on me rather than the victims who came to me. I did not consider how it would be used to discredit me, as an example of how the joke existed in other forms in a far less hideous version. Think. I don't know why this amuses me so much, but Courtney's birthday. I still don't regret releasing it on her birthday because I don't think it's that big of a deal, and 2, fuck her, correct. However, I realized a little while after making the site that it would be in poor taste to actually post it the day of the doc's release. I didn't think to take it down because I didn't figure anyone would post it themselves. Foxhound dropped it with the intent to sabotage the dog. And then there's Nicole here. Hey kids, you want to see something Fennec thought was more important than half the testimonies he received? If you're confused by what you're looking at, this is a webpage Fennec made that was supposed to pair with this expose. It can be found here. Check it out while you still can before Fennec inevitably sees this post and deletes the page. I like how you address kids and then link to a website that kids probably shouldn't see. That's a choice. I tried taking it down about 6 months ago, only to find that I no longer had access to the account I made it on, but even if I could, I wouldn't because I don't want to hide that I did it. I want to own this mistake. A note to Courtney's victims. I used every testimony from people who responded about the doc. If I left someone out and they would like me to share their story, please let me know. Fennec Part 2. Criticisms of me. This whole situation was poorly managed, and I have no intention of repeating any of the mistakes that were made, and this is where we get to Britt. With all that finally out of the way, let's discuss the months leading up to her being kicked from my server and the release of the document. Let's talk about why I banned her from the server. Oh, hi, Lio. Hi, Lio. We're currently at the section of the doc about Patchwork Heart. Good to see you, by the way. Hello.
Somebody already requested that you show up to talk about it, lol.
This is kind of like scary. We talk about Patchwork Heart and Lio appears. Okay, let's see. Grooming. I haven't seen any specific accusations regarding any individuals he may have groomed, which initially made this section difficult to write. However, upon further research, it seems to have been pulled entirely out of thin air. The tapper says, Patch has been grooming people? Patch has been caught doing a lot. I don't know what to tell you. They were very active with Xena and Poppy and Lily Orchard, not to mention their own multiple deleted servers and spaces. It's a rat nest. Grooming I can't confirm in spaces where grooming happened. Absolutely. I don't like it when people throw the grooming allegation out without any proof, and, you know, association doesn't mean causation. There's, like, stupid as it sounds, you can accidentally be friends with bad people and then pull away. That doesn't mean that you're a groomer. Like, damn. Always check the tags. Grooming I can confirm in spaces where grooming happened, absolutely. By this logic, anyone who's ever trusted Lily or Poppy is worthy of this accusation, particularly Britt, who is actively associated with Poppy and Lily for extended periods of time. This is so intellectually dishonest that even one of the parody blogs began discussing it. Oh, this is the parody blogs from fucking Psy. Okay, Sheaf backtracking on the accusations of grooming against Patch is interesting. Months ago, he was calling Patch a scam artist who foul groomer. Those are words that aren't in the Bible. But now it's he was hanging out with groomers. You mean the groomers that financially and emotionally abused him, love-bombed him, and made him codependent on them? Can't keep your life straight, Sheaf? No wonder he's buddy-buddy with Britt. I'm gonna be real, Sheaf is boring and also a dumbass, swallowed up by a circle jerk, so I don't follow them, but it'd be better to show this with screens to rub the blatant hypocrisy in their faces. Funny enough, even Lily uses that tactic to spear Britt, albeit seemingly sarcastically. The biggest proof that Patricia Taxon wasn't a pedophile is that if she was, Britt's galaxy brain would have been friends with her. Brittany Johnson loves pedophiles. She hangs around them all the time. FNGR, Vida, Courtney, Pete, Blake Diamond, she was buddy-buddy with all of them, and resisted any attempt to uncover their violence against children. Would Brittany harass an actual pedophile? Those are her best friends. Ooh. In the end, this is one of those received so it didn't happen situation, as it should be with every piece of information that comes out of this group ever again. Incest. This document is hell. My god. We're hitting every fucking, like, bingo card on, like, accusations.
It's all the buzzwords.
Weaponized trauma. This one is rough. CV light mentions that this happened, no explicit details. Patch has relayed to me and given me permission to share that he was a victim of incestual CSA. Patch says, I still don't know where the fuck that came from. I was sexually assaulted by an older cousin when I was a child, but that isn't public knowledge. I only told my partners and a few select trusted friends. The only reasons I could think the allegations would exist are jokes that I made about Oren High School host club or the fact that Lily and I used to be friends. I don't endorse incest. I think it's both irresponsible and ethically vile. Calling incest irresponsible is a choice. I was a survivor of forced incest, so the allegations themselves both shock and confuse the shit out of me. He had divulged this to a former close friend who used to support him when he was having mental health troubles, but when they got on bad terms, this person twisted that knowledge into something hurtful and began spreading rumors. This weaponized version of events has made its way to Britt and Tapish/Sheev, and they continue to levy this as an accusation of some kind. Interestingly enough, I've experienced something similar from these people too. Cy Scribbles is a YouTube art commentary streamer who Sheev is a moderator for. Britt would consistently use it as a space to speculate wildly about my personal life and sexual interests. This ended up turning into an echo chamber where Britt, Nicole, Sheev, and their other friends would reinforce each other's bad faith paranoia about me and other server members would get pulled into it. This screenshot is from another member of the server. Just a warning, Fennec, the guy who wrote the Courtney Doc, is sliding up to hidden space heroin for probably another vid. Fennec is on record of being pro-pedophile, aka pro-zoo/pedo/necro, and has talked about wanting to fuck his brother. When I was in Courtney's server, a server Britt moderated, I told Britt about my experience as an incest survivor in her DMs. This was a common type of communication in private DMs between server members and moderators. I told her my brother and I were abused by the same person, and that person went on to tell me I was a danger to my siblings due to being bisexual. I began to convince myself that I was a future predator and spent years in isolation. My brother refused to allow me to keep isolating myself, in part because he needed me, and because I needed him. I struggle with physical closeness as a result of this fear that I will become my abuser. Fennec says, I have a hard time hugging my brother because my first thought is, you're disgusting and you're just like blank. I was 14 when you first said that to me. Britt sends this gif. Fennec says, that's why it was upsetting for me. And Britt says, I want to end this man, slowly and painfully. Your inner critic develops based on the things that were said to you by people growing up, and he fucking inserted a fear of hugging your brother and make you think you're predatory because he was projecting his own shit on you. He doesn't deserve to breathe. This is the only possible conversation that this could have come from. Britt was supportive of me, or at least I had believed she was at the time. Now it's clear to me that her support was conditional on my loyalty to her. Now Britt has wolfed my very real CSA trauma into the story where I want to inflict that kind of horror on my brother, another CSA victim who had nothing to do with our personal beef. Britt had even discussed my own personal diagnosis in a public Discord full of strangers following a falling out. Brad is Britt for the record. So I'm just gonna say, that's disgusting. Like, somebody trusting you with a very real story of their past and a very, very real fear they had about, as a result of that trauma, to warp that into, oh yeah, actually, you want to fuck your brother. Like, how do you go from Fennec mentions that they don't want to touch their brother because the fear of becoming their abuser was inserted into them by the abuser, to, oh, Fennec wants to fuck their brother? Huh? Huh? That's not how that works. That's not how that works at all. Fuck you for that, Britt. Britt says, and I genuinely think they've got a touch of the moral OCD. Fennec's been diagnosed with it. And then Britt says, I have a theory that a lot of people like that have moral OCD and they don't realize it. Especially people that come from spaces like Fennec's server. Britt says, Fennec and a few others on that server have OCD, with moral obsessions is one of the cycles they can fall into. Anyone who's still friends with Britt should know that if things get ever sour between her and them, anything they trust her with on a personal level is something she'll see as fair game to hurt them with. Just gonna say, extremely fucked up to take, like, even if you have a falling out with somebody, diagnoses and trauma they tell you is not free game. Like, unironically, even if I hate you, I'm not going to take something that you talk to me about in private, whether it's your personal trauma, and go around and talk to people about that. Even if you are the worst person imaginable, because you just don't do that. the fact that Britt is happily doing it and repeatedly doing it and then warping somebody's very real trauma and trauma response into an accusation of being a predator that's really fucked up. And ironic, like, not even in the funny sense, it's just terrible. And this is somebody that you're supposed to look up to when it comes to the Lily Ochit stuff. Like, screw you, Britt. And ironically, screw you, dude. Zoophilia. One of the things Britt and Tepes have stated that they believe Patch is a zoophile. This is likely due to the allegations that Patch put forward regarding being financially abused by Lily Ochit and coerced into drawing zoophilic artwork. I will not show it here, but I will link the original doc with the evidence here. I'm not going to show you guys that. I can't, unironically. I know it's censored, but I don't want to put you guys through that, so...
We're trying to lower the amount of traumatized people in the world by one.
By one at a time, dude. If there is some other allegation attached to this, it's unknown. They have not clarified the full extent of what they are accusing Patch of or why. Again, this screenshot is the only evidence that Britt provided when asked about this. Okay, so we've seen this. Again, I fail to see the correlation. That being said, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, don't you think, Britt? Britt's wolf fixation, or glass houses. Oh, I'm terrified, dude. Britt's Not Safe for Work blog. Britt's Not Safe for Work blog was called Angel Wolf of the Dark, as you can see here. And then there's this. Yo darlings, I have a main blog that I've been more active on lately. I repost electric, spiritual, and psychological shit, vintage architecture, and interior design, old tech, old web, and a lot of art. If anyone's interested in seeing the weirder shit I don't post here, my main blog is Sabermegas next. So we've established that this is one of Britt's handles. Yes, that's a real photo of her as a profile picture for a Not Safe for Work blog for some reason. Here's a post from it. Awesome. This isn't a furry, this isn't cartoonified, anthropomized version of a wolf, that's just a fucking wolf. There's another one. It's not getting better. Okay, never mind. That is just a fucking wolf.
I hate these people.
Unfortunately, she seems so intent of aggressively throwing potentially life-ruining allegations against the victim of the figure she centered her life around attacking. This is to expose the hypocrisy of her aggressive attacks against others. It feels necessary to show that she's a fucking hypocrite and needs to stop trying to cover for herself like this. Britt makes it a point to intensely campaign against paraphiles, indulging in taboo and fictional materials, explicitly including zoophilia, but it's pretty clear that this is one of those situations like Firebrand anti-gay politician being caught screwing twink interns in an empty conference room. It's overcompensation to cover for her own interests, and I'm assuming in the hopes that nobody who cares will look at a Not Safe for Work blog. This... Why? 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 Britts Wolfdildo.
Chat, I need an adult. Help.
If we're going by Brit standards, and someone is a zoophile because of the art they were most likely groomed and coerced into drawing, I wonder what it means if someone wants to see what a redacted feels like in real life. She made this post on my server full of people in their late teens and early 20s, yes, the one I made to give former members of Courtney's first server a place to go after she rage deleted the safe space she made for CSA survivors, and people fleeing Lily's fandom, including minors. Britt says, I found one I really wanted on a site called Juliet and Martin's. Trigger warning, fantasy toys. Juliet toys products, no. Fantasy wolf, fantasy dildo, wolf dildo, not dildo. I need like a bottle of rum, to be honest. Now, to be fair, this was in the age-gated not safe for work section of the server, but why were we in the group that she wanted to share this with? Even if there were no minors, why was Britt sharing the fact that she really wanted to see what a knotted wolf dick dildo felt like? Normally, this wouldn't even be something I'm worried about. After all, Bad Dragon is an extremely popular sex toy brand that specializes in different dildo shapes, including many animal-based ones for weird furry shit. It's easy to dismiss it as just fantasy and wanting to try new things. Is this relevant enough to be appropriate to share? Well, it will be more in a bit, but it's worth bringing up here because Britt has recklessly thrown around potentially life-ruining accusations about multiple people with zero evidence, just her own conspiracy-brained armchair pet hunter logic. And to be absolutely clear, I don't think her wanting a weird dildo is proof of her wanting to actually have sex with animals. I just don't like abusive hypocrites. So... I'm gonna say this. If you specifically buy dildos that are made after animal genitalia, yeah, no.
There's something wrong with you.
Yeah, like, unironically, like, no. Shaking my head at you right now. Nobody who looks at a dog dick is like, oh, I want to try that. Victim blaming Patch, Xena, and Poppy. One of the last things about Patch before we move on is this is the same group that has attacked Patch every chance they get, even going as far as to speak on other non-Lily situations. Here's how the Tapest Chief tried to flip a situation where Patch was a victim to make him liable somehow. Note that the Poppy and Xena block shown below is a block dedicated to calling out Poppy and Xena. Xena and Poppy is the actual account of Xena and Poppy. The Tapest. Patchy was never kicked from our server, never was unfriended, and still has our number. Even after all the shit he pulled, we still care. 2. No one said Patchy flipped over money. Patchy had a breakdown because of social pressure and acted out. Nothing more, nothing less. And then the Poppy and Xena block says, well, actually, no, Anonymous says, watching people turn on Patch now that he's not drinking the Kool-Aid is pretty sad. We've got accusations of rape apologia, abuse apologia, Poppy insisting, but I showed you the receipts, and now they're trying to spin it as, oh, Patch flipped because someone donated money to him. This is what conditional love gets you. This is also what it means to be Poppy's child. You're amazing and she loves you so, so much, but oh dear, you said the wrong thing, time to throw you out because you're having reservations. People called Patch your son, your nephew, and you said that he was family, and yet we already know how they treat family, don't we? And then the account replies it was $25. I don't know about you, but a crisp $20 bill sure is a way to sway me and completely change my opinion on my totally moral mother figure and the entire community she fostered full of totally moral friends. Heavy sarcasm, obviously. And then Xena and Poppy say, I love how the Poppy and Xena block just makes shit up carte blanche. It definitely makes sense why they study at the GVS School of Internet Harassment. At least Courtney has the good graces to put her fucking back into making shit up. Patch never said shit to Poppy and Xena about their abuse, never confronted them, period. Oh lord.
So, chat, today we're blowing up the internet.
Yeah, no. This is factually untrue, but that's what happens when you take a perpetrator's testimony at face value just because of some enemy of my enemy mindset. This is tantamount to believing Lily over some of her alleged victims because you don't like the victim. Seriously, if you're familiar with the ZP situation, imagine unquestionably taking Poppy for a word. If you're unfamiliar, know that there are many document instances of her lying about people accusing her and doing her best to smear them, no matter how unverified the source. I know several former ZP community members that I was able to find the truth was the exact opposite. Patch did confront Poppy and Xena following his conversations with drama commentary stream Beckett, and was promptly met with a collective effort to manipulate him into staying. Another former community member, Dusk, aka Nightwild, offered to speak on the matter. So Dusk is also somebody I talked about in my video, so I'm willing to take their word here because they're very trustworthy. But yes, Becky mentioned. Batch had every reason to silently leave, but he didn't do that. He asked Poppy questions, and Poppy doesn't like questions. I know what happens when you question Poppy. I've seen people chewed up and spit out, and they either ran away or folded and did everything to make up and atone for their sin like I did. I know some will not easily believe testimony with no evidence, so here's proof that they actually talk about things. This is Xena. And then this is Xena. We are talking with Patchy. It's a mess. We didn't tag because it was late last night. The others on voice with us know because that's when the join leave log was noticed. Patch left on his own after talking the same night he was on Beckett's stream after Poppy verbally berated him in it. Poppy went hard against him for it and told the rest of us about it in depth. She used the same language that she did when I did something to upset her and portrayed him as weak-willed and an unreliable person who was daring to question our pure and infallible leader. Poppy had successfully rooted out the evil that had corrupted him. Of course that wasn't actually what happened. Poppy berated and abused Patch into coming back. People were spiraling, and I think it was very likely upon coming back that Patch saw the messages left in the Kita VC chat, which I sadly failed to grab the locks up before leaving in Poppy's server in September of 2024. Oh, and for those taking the idea that Poppy was welcoming Patch back with open arms, and here's Poppy saying, at Arkin class, I request everyone block Shiloh/Patchwork Hard. And then Wyvern says, alrighty. And then Poppy says, Shiloh appears to be back online and has left several groups. If you have DMs with him, I suggest scrubbing them. Leave nothing for him to use against us. And then Wyvern says, seems we already blocked him. And then Poppy says, look up the Redact program if you need help scrubbing. This is me talking with her in one of the mod chats. This is a demand. Even if she phrased it as a request, Patch was added to the blacklist. If I or anyone contacted him, we would have been kicked and harassed. The point here is that Britt and her circle feel entirely too confident about speaking authoritatively on matters that they are minimally informed of and have no business speaking on, even going so far as to boost an alleged abuser's narrative just because it fits into theirs. In other words, they care so much about hurting an abuse victim that they hate that they'll boost and support the abuser's defense against them. Taking Poppy's words at face value when so much evidence of her abuse, lying, and gaslighting exists is mind-boggling. So this is actually true. The thing with Poppy and Xena is that they're incredibly abusive, incredibly predatory, not just, you know, in the sense of the classic idea of predation. They prey on very, very vulnerable people all the time. They're also just sick. Like, you can look up anything said about them, including how they treated their actual real-life child. So, yeah, just so you know. Just so you know. This combination of bad faith conjecture and being willing to listen to disreputable sources is indicative of a much bigger problem for them, the penchant for QAnon-level conspiracy theory and logic. Back to the racism. It's your favorite section, babe.
Oh boy.
Following the release of the doc, Nicole became public with the Foxhound blog. The blog immediately received a flurry of vitriol from her inbox, and it was all again blamed on Easy or possibly others. I'm sick of you racist white dykes, oh, slur. Sorry.
Lol?
I'm so sorry I didn't catch that. KYS already. Slit your wrist for a long way for results. Someone's having a day in my inbox, Lamau. I double-checked to make sure that none of the kids in my community were responsible for this. Here's one example. By the way, I wanted to ask you, have you sent any anons to Nicole? I'm not mad if you did, I'm just wondering. No, sorry for the late response, my sleep schedule is terrible, and no, I haven't sent her any anons. That's okay, I didn't think you did, just wanted to check. Yeah, I can't really use Tumblr outside of Homestuck content. While it's easy to say that they could have just lied about their involvement, I have my own reasons for believing that it's very unlikely that they would do such a thing. I know them personally, and it's completely out of character for them to engage in this kind of bullying or harassment, so I completely believe them on this. Some of the anons were nastier than others, this in particular was one of the worst ones she published. I'm not going to let up on this. Fennec, Santi Sonnets, and any alt hides behind should be exposed for what this is. You want to know why? Go join your mom. Where, Santi dumped your white ass because you were a racist Karen. Get over it. Kill yourself, anti-Semite. I hope this is Easy or someone else from Fennec's close inner circle, because the alternative is that Fennec is telling random kids I don't know about my personal life. Enough so for them to send an ask to tell me to KYS by referencing my deceased mother. Fennec and everyone else in this circle that are now quickly deleting their accounts and hiding are vile, vindictive pieces of shit. Keep my mother's name out of your fucking mouth. I can see why she would think this was me/us because of the usage of Santi and anti-Semite. I'm Jewish, but this is beyond the pale. Go join your mom. Lloyd. Oof. Oof, bro.
Fennec's Jewish.
At this point, I was certain this wasn't someone in my camp doing this. I know all of them well enough to know that none of them are this cruel and heartless. Granted, there's no way to know for sure about 100% of the anonymous asks. At some point, this just comes down to speculation and perspective, but there's a 0% chance of this specific cruelty coming from them. I don't think I need to explain why attacking someone like this is unacceptable. Yeah, okay, so we know. But Nicole said that she wants me to suffer for that alone, even while stating that she's holding me responsible for the supposed actions of someone in my server. Like, here's the thing, if I'm wrong about him still hosting kids in his servers, he would have made some sort of post. I really don't want to let up on him, considering one of those fucking kids that is sending the anons decided to bring up my dead mother. He's gonna fucking suffer for that one alone. I had initially theorized that Nicole had spoken about her mother's passing in a public space online, however, she specifically stated differently. Or how about the 10 days later when I received death threat anons, including one that mentioned my deceased mother, a deceased mother only you and your circle knew about at that time. I have done everything in my power to prevent Nicole from being harassed by anyone in my circles. When I saw harassment that could be them, I immediately investigated it with them myself. This means that it's someone who was no longer in my server, close with Nicole, aware of the situation, and likely benefited from Nicole being in distress. And I know that there's no way that Nicole can possibly believe this, but I don't put it past Britt to drop an inflammatory anon into a friend's inbox just to cement their allegiance against somebody. I'm not saying this as a cheap shot, I genuinely believe this. After all, we've already shown how she weaponized foundational trauma against me in Patch. We don't do things like this. Britt does. Oh, hi, Ace. Oh my goodness, I didn't even see you. Hi, Ace.
What's up, little guppy?
Very evil stuff. This is a document that was dropped against Britt. You know, Brittany? You may remember her. Currently thread. We're 118 out of 233 pages in. Learning from my mistakes. So... Okay, I don't really... As mean as it sounds, this is meaningless to me in the sense of, like, it doesn't provide anything about Britt, but I'm glad that you're getting help, Fennec. Heart emoji. Britt Part 2. Lily. Oh, gets worse. It always gets worse. Let's get a little deeper into why Britt's logic isn't to be trusted and why she shouldn't even be trusted as a source without explicit evidence proving her allegations. More importantly, let's get into why she's not a safe judge and what's appropriate for minors to be exposed to and involved in. But mostly, this section is about why she is and has always been the wrong person to lead the charge against Lily. I feel like the need to offer yet another content warning for the following: CSCM, child sexual abuse material, sexualizations of minors and animals, suicide, and rape. Cries and hands. This part is magnitudes worse than everything I've listed so far, so continue at your own discretion and take breaks if you need to. This is going to get into some hard stuff, but I promise that it's important. Transphobia. For those who don't know, Kiwi Farms is a forum-based website that is mostly notorious for its rampant transphobia. It's like if the worst trickle-down from 2010 4chan got organized. Britt has been fairly open about using Kiwi Farms from the beginning. In fact, she originally put a Kiwi Farms username, aghost, in her Tumblr bio. Here she is being tagged and named directly. Speaking of Britt, she's going to be taken away from Twitter. Apparently the shitty ex of hers got arrested for something incredibly heinous and she's having trouble dealing with it. Hope you're doing it right, a ghost. Take as much time as you need and collect yourself and everything. Empathy on Kiwi Farms? That's crazy. That's crazy. This was posted to the Lily thread in 2022. Here Britt claims to stifle her shitty opinions about trans women around other trans people so that they actually listen to her. One of the main subjects that she felt more free to discuss in Kiwi Farms was how she doesn't consider Lily a genuine trans woman. Here she explicitly categorizes it as another fetish and explains her reasoning behind it. I need a sip for this.
Hold on, real quick while you're getting a sip.
Sin, you're on such thin ice. Oh wait, you already were.
Yeah, shut your bitch ass up!
Be nice, Taze. What makes that conversation even harder is the fact that genuine trans women are often accused of the very things Lily has displayed. Lily's history is such a convoluted clusterfuck that explaining the context behind why she's questioned would take an entire video essay on its own, explaining to in the most ideal way possible. That's why I don't misgender her. I want people to be open to be hearing... Okay, that's a lot of words to saying that you don't think Lily is a trans woman. That is like, listen, I'm not reading your entire essay just because you're trying to explain why you don't want to call Lily a woman. Shut up. It's also worth noting that her GI or GID as a gender identity disorder is a massively outdated term, as being transgender has not been considered a disorder itself since the introduction of the DSM-5 in 2013. It was replaced with gender dysphoria as a diagnosis to avoid treating trans identities as a mental illness. In America, mental health professionals don't consider dysphoria a requirement for someone to identify outside of their assigned gender. To some of you, this may seem like a relatively minor issue, but it's because many of Lily's alleged victims who are looking for a safe person are also trans. This says a lot about how she thinks about transness, especially when it comes to someone she doesn't like or see as valid. This is likely why she was so comfortable with Courtney's transphobia in their infamous first server. There it is again. Worst screenshot of my life. Your gnarled up, infected looking hole that wasn't supposed to be there. Thank you, Courtney. Appreciate you. Die. As long as it's aimed at a deserving target, right? Even if it's in a server where the target will never see it, but a bunch of young trans CSA victims will. This is the equivalent of seeing racism as okay, as long as it's not against one of the good ones. Unfortunately, even if it makes people uncomfortable, the power dynamic basically ensures that they won't bring it up, even when Britt and Crew scramble so hard to justify posts like this when confronted on them. They are not a safe haven for trans victims, and even for those who aren't trans. They normalize the idea that this kind of language is okay as long as they're a bad one. And we'll get into it soon, but Britt doesn't think that it's okay for minors to see what she thinks is important. Violating victim confidentially. Okay, the individual in the section about would like to remain anonymous. Yeah, fair enough. A teenager messaged Britt on Tumblr looking for someone to talk about their experiences with Lily. Lily didn't even wait until the conversation was over to post screenshots in my server. Girl. Be so for real. The Clout cannot be that important. Don't know. If my real-life best friend hadn't had some similar wild encounters with Lily, this would almost be too much for me to believe. She had another alt account, a more personal one. The kid has given me permission to share the following messages from the above post, with the exception of actual details, as they can't prove their allegations against Lily and just want to move on with their life. The important part is how Britt shared them immediately. Look at the timestamps of her post and the screenshots. Oh, this bitch is... I don't know what I was expecting, but she's been so much more blatantly prolific than I hoped. So this is at 3:06 p.m. and this is at 3:09 p.m. Yeah, that's pretty immediately. That is pretty immediately. How about we don't do that? How about we don't take victim testimony and immediately carry it to, like, servers or blogs or videos without making sure that this person is actually okay with it being shared? How about we don't? How about we don't? Okay, so I'm just gonna scroll through this. Okay. While building this doc, I remembered this and realized I'd never thought about whether or not Britt got permission to share them. Since this kid had ended up joining my server, I asked them directly. Sorry, I didn't see this. I'm awake now because blank messaged me. What's up? It's like 4 a.m. right now. Sorry for not answering sooner. Fennec says, oh, you're totally fine, dude. Basically, I wanted to know if you were aware that Britt took screenshots of your DMs and sent them. Did you have your consent to do that with your experiences with Lily? And this kid says, what the fuck? I don't think I ever gave that, and even if I did, I don't want her to fucking screenshot it. Awesome. Thank you, Britt. That's so normal of you. So no, I don't need to explicitly state it. The thing about sexual trauma is that a victim's testimony is where they get to reclaim their autonomy and power. While the public discord around these things can easily veer into gossipy territory, if you're the person the testimony was provided to, you've been entrusted with something extremely sensitive and private. Sharing it with friends without permission to just go, oh my god, is a gross violation of their trust and responsibility. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough, to be honest. I like that your mouse cursor is glittery. Yes, it is. It has sparkles. It has little sunny sparkles and stuff. It technically used to be something Transformer related first, but now I just have the sparkles. The missing Lily logs. I had heard rumors of some questionable materials in Britt's archived Lily logs that were no longer public. The Skype logs in particular were incredibly difficult to get a hold of, which is strange considering how thoroughly Britt has archived and posted everything else. We found a blog post archived online, trigger warning, active misgendering in the main post, that links to an incomplete archive of the very selective Terra Kali logs where Britt was interacting with someone widely believed to be Lily Orchard behind an alt. Yeah, the Terra Kali thing is just somebody Lily made up, as far as we know. So this is where the whole thing about Britt being like catfished by Lily Orchard came from. Most complete archives can be found here, 1.5, and here the end. The logs linked as 2.0 on the blog post are complete. The odd thing here is that... Music loud. Stop yelling in my ear, music. The odd thing is that while there are definitely screenshots here that reinforce her allegations against Lily, many of the logs aren't really relevant to that purpose. They seem to be more to reinforce her innocence, or even just her venting her bitterness over Lily downplaying their friendship. It's kind of jarring to go from screenshots of Lily apparently actively gloating about breaking a woman by R-wording her, to this image of bitterly captioned, "I was such a bad friend." Of course, we have roleplay in here. Of course. Of course.
Because we can't be normal, right, guys?
Okay, so they're just talking about trans people. To be fair, it made sense at the time. Also, Valkyr Studios, again, is kind of Lily's thing, so again, more proof that this is Lily. To be fair, this made sense at the time. Britt was deeply hurt by this betrayal. She was only 25 when she released these logs. They were bound to be... Okay, so when were these logs released? Because I think it's been a while. There were bound to be personal feelings mixed in, but how does this affect her credibility when it comes to things she supposedly wasn't actually okay with? Playing along. For those who are not aware, Britt has accused Lily of catfishing her under the alias of Tara Kelly. She provided proof that it was a sock puppet and evidence of coercion from Tara. Yeah, okay, so this is the proof that we've seen before. If anybody has watched the June the King video, I think that's also in there. So, yeah, catfish. Britt has frequently stated that she only played along with Lily's more questionable interests. The descriptions included for context on the original Tara lock screenshots largely seem to back this up. There comes a point where it stops being gay-opping and starts being complicity, and even something she was actively agreeing with. For example, this can easily be accepted as her trying to fish for some kind of verification that Tara is a real person and not just Lily. All of these screenshots were taken by Britt, so Tara/Lily is/are the grey bubbles and Britt are the blue ones. Hey yo, grabs ass. What up? You should take a pic for me. Not much, all snuggled in. A pic of what? A pic of your adorable self? It'll be stashed away from my safe private files. Oh, sorry, I don't take pictures of myself. Grrr. Hell yeah, I know. If you want to see any more Brittany hotness, I have to at least hear your voice once, or at least stick something written in front of a cam. Hello? Would you even just write a message and stick it in front of the cam? You don't have to speak or show your face. No, sorry. Thing is, there are other less known logs that we've gotten the original archives on. Britt and minors. This is going to be a terrible section. I can already tell that this is going to be like an awful section. Update. After seeing the initial public response to this section, I've decided to remove some of the parts of it that people have taken as permission to start calling Britt a pedophile. Within context of hindsight and people's reinterpretation, I realized that some moments could have been interpreted as pushing that narrative. I thought my point was apparent, but it looks like I was incorrect, so I've adjusted accordingly. Remember, just because Britt still doesn't see anything wrong with some of this doesn't mean that it's not wrong, it just means she still hasn't grown enough as a person to see what it is. What follows... I have the hiccups, apologies. What follows is from July 19th of 2015. Brittany Johnson says, the girl I've been hanging around showed up at lunch and took me to see her creepy friends. She works at a haunted house. We eventually ended up at another girl's house and shared a couple of blunts. The younger sister of this girl was freaking, oh my god, gorgeous, really adorable, perfect body, flirty, had the subtle way she'd look at you, etc. Like, damn. Well, we piled into this dude's car and took a trip to 7-Eleven, and while we were standing in line, I casually asked how old she was. She gave me that look and then slight shoulder twist and said, I'm 15. In my head, there was an immediate cacophony of scratches, screeching bikes, and large vehicles going in reserve. Abandoned ship, it's a trap, red alert. Exactly, this girl is the fucking poster child for Jailbait. The girl took me out, said she had a similar experience with her, only it was at a pool party with alcohol involved, and said the Jailbait was feeling all up on her chest before she realized how young she was. Walker Studios says, that girl is evil. Brittany says, I know, and she hangs out with the creepiest and she works at the house too, so she seems really mature for a 15-year-old hole. Oh, Christ. For a 15...
Chat, this is proof that we're all dead.
Valka Studios, what is it about minors that so many people find tempting? Brittany says, I normally don't find minors tempting at all, but if they're mature for their age, my eyes wander. But I ain't touching them with a 10-foot pole. Valka says, I know you wouldn't actually, but if you had you ever had that fantasy? Brittany says, off? To me, a mature minor is just a person.
Death penalty.
Jail. Jail. It's one thing to play into someone's fantasies to stay on their good side, but this goes beyond that. This is a detailed sexualization of a minor. She and Lily both are fairly using the term jailbait to describe a 15-year-old girl. Britt describes how good her body looked and how flirtatious she was. This was after she found out they were 15 years old. It's important to establish how old Britt was here. How old were you when you stopped talking to Lily? 23. Added, I have no idea why it made that 23 so huge. In her own published logs clearly show that her and Lily stopped speaking in 2015, which means that Britt was 23 at the time of these messages since they happened in 2015. Bro. I'm literally like the dog in the sun meme right now. I'm ascending. I'm going better places, Chad. I'm going better places. Obviously, her not engaging in the past at that point is the correct response. Nobody in their right mind would argue that it isn't. My issue is not that she accidentally hit on a teenager, but rather the way she goes on to discuss it with Lily. Brittany says, I haven't had any fantasies actually involving innocence and whatnot. Well, Kier Studios goes, alrighty then. Britt replies, but now you've got me curious. What? What were you getting at? I mean, have you ever had a fantasy about being with someone who is underage? That seems to be common these days. Psh, dude, I was a booty call for someone who was underage in high school. There was only a 3-year difference between us, though. Oh my. We got together when she was 18, when I was 18 and she was 15 to 16, and again when I was 19. Oh, well, hi there, Stockholm Mod XP. I was underage when I dated Sean. He was 18 and I was 16. I chased a 23-year-old on Guildbush when I was 16, but nothing ever came of it. Looks like Texas just breeds jailbait, doesn't it? Brittany says, I've been fucking with age gaps for a while, which is why in some instances I find the current age laws annoying, but I completely understand why they need to be in place. The mature ones are rare. Like a studio sends a YouTube video. Brittany says, I just realized how bad that first sentence sounds. Correction, I've been challenging age gaps for a while. Valkyr Studios goes, you've been fucking with the very bones of reality, Miss She-Male Owl Wolf. Brittany says, reality is boring, so I create my own. Valkyr Studios says, I like your reality. Nuzzled.
Can we not? Can we just be done?
Sobbing into my hands right now, dude.
I want to get off Lily Orchard's Wacky Wild Ride, please.
Well, I think the age gap between two high schoolers Britt presented here is an acceptable one. The way she describes it is a cause for alarm. Lily Orchard, charming as always, cropped the message to focus exclusively on what Britt said. Reminder, Brittany's a pedophile. Because of fucking course she is. The chiz is always a self-report. Nobody is that pathologically obsessed with pedophilia without it being projection. And then the screenshot says, I normally don't find minors tempting at all. Okay, so... Edit. Lily recently posted the full screenshot and half apologized for it. I don't think it's relevant and arguably still dishonest, but I'll link it here so you can make your own decisions about it. Britt responded to the post by Lily with her own. I'm only sharing Lily's comments because it was worth sharing the context of Britt's post. Okay, so somebody shared the... okay. The first one was a conversation that's been ripped out of context. I don't expect Lily to remember. I had a coworker years ago that took me to meet her haunted house buddies. She was a scarer. And there was a 15-year-old on crew. Coworker warned me that the kid was troubled and would constantly flirt with the adults. Her older sister was also on the crew and didn't do much to stop it for some reason. I didn't know what she looked like. We hung out with the whole crew for a while, went to a Shell to get drinks, and someone starts getting really close and flirting with me. She was wearing a lot of makeup and I couldn't tell how old she was, but since the coworker had warned me, I immediately asked. Sure enough, it was the girl, and I stayed far the fuck away from her for the rest of the night. This doesn't address what she actually said. Correct. It doesn't. Lloyd. I am sobbing in my hands. Brittany, what is wrong with you? Why was Britt hanging out with people who were comfortable with letting a minor come to a party with young adults and alcohol? Why was Britt using Jailbait as this girl's nickname? Why did she say she found the current age laws to be annoying? It also is important to reiterate that Britt believes that Patch is lying about being abused and manipulated by Lily into playing her more extreme sexual interest. Remember, my dude, history of abuse and zoophilia. So when Patch says that he was pushed into these things by Lily, she thinks he's lying, but when she uses it for the same reason as a blanket shield against things that she doesn't explain, it's valid. Girl. Girl. Now, putting aside the worrying notion that Britt couldn't recognize a girl as nearly a decade younger than her, the point here is the weirdness of the 23-year-old Britt perspective on the viability of minors for relationships with adults. It's how she views them as people versus adults. Odd, but with the additional context of the screenshots I have already provided, it takes on a more concerning implication. There is a clear line from this kind of thinking about the autonomy of minors to why she thinks it's okay to expose minors to extremely inappropriate topics. Yeah. Not my biggest issue with these, because clearly calling a 15-year-old jailbait and talking about a 15-year-old's body in extreme detail after you were made aware that this person was 15 is weird as shit. It just is. I know people have called, like, Britt a pedophile over this. I don't know if I want to. I'm just saying that it's weird that she's adultifying literal children this way. Not just in a sexual manner, but also saying, oh, a mature minor is just a person. No, that's a child. It's just a child.
You might not want to say it, but I will. Britt, you're a pedophile.
It's, yeah, I don't know. Listen, my problem with this, and like why I struggle saying it, is because clearly when Britt was looking at this person, she wasn't aware that this person was a minor, so yeah, okay. It's just that everything after that makes me worry because, again, if you accidentally hit on somebody and then find out, oh, that's a child, and you go, whoops, you know, accident, you know?
Well, right, but then afterward, didn't they go like, wow?
Yeah,
So
they're so
something
pretty.
age gap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
buddy.
I don't know, this is shit that groomers would say, and ironically, this is shit that groomers would say. Where groomers would be like, oh, you know, you're so mature for your age, you're so sexy for your age, you're so, you know, adult for your age. Like, I don't know, big ew. Like, again, no real evidence that Britt is into children. I haven't heard anything about Britt being a groomer or anything. I don't know if this was repeated or if this was like a one thing time. So I don't know if she's grown away from this. I just think it's weird and it's worrisome, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's mm mm. A mature minor is just a person. For almost the entire time her blog has been up, she has insisted that it's important for minors to continue to have access to her posts. Why don't you have a minors do not interact? Why do you allow minors to participate in this space at all? It's one thing to warn them, it's another to let them get involved. Chris Hansen wasn't letting real kids participate in To Catch a Predator, you shouldn't either. Britt says, are you serious? The whole point is to warn people who are vulnerable to her. Ironically, during the making of this document, her account was possibly marked as mature on Tumblr. So warning people about pedophiles openly posting their shit is enough to give your whole blog marked as mature, but actually posting pedophilia shit isn't. Oh fucking K. I don't know, like, this just shows that, like, she doesn't know how to be appropriate around kids at all. And this is why I think she shouldn't be the poster child for calling out Lily Orchard, because what do you mean? Like, this is your past actions. It's just, I don't fucking know. Like I said, it's this thing that sometimes happens where a minor just unironically looks like a 20-year-old, but I ain't about to give that here because we cannot know if that's the case here. Yeah, I don't know, like, again, it feels weird that Britt was warned that there was a child who was apparently flirting with adults, and at least did the responsible thing of going, hey, how old are you, and then disengaging when finding out they're a minor, but it's the way that she's talking about it afterwards. I wouldn't do that. I can say, oops, I accidentally flirted with a minor. Thank God I stepped away from that, and leave it at that. The description of, like, her body and the sexualization of her existence wasn't necessary, like, at all. In the slightest. No. Ironically, during the making of this document, yeah, okay, so that was that, somehow Britt still doesn't understand that the discussion of sexual abuse of children is a mature topic, or that there are ways to educate minors on safety without exposing them to harmful materials. Correct, you don't need to show a child porn to warn them about porn. It's that fucking simple, dude. It's that fucking simple. It's that easy. I should also mention that this was the same problem that several members of Courtney's first survey encountered when they expressed concerns about a 15-year-old having access to chat rooms that actively discussed subjects like rape, child predation, and bestiality. To preface, this is a call-out block for Poppy and Xena. Yeah, so this I showed in my video as well, because this specific vlog was, well, had a fight because they expressed that it was weird for a 15-year-old to have access to a space in a server where, like, rape and sexual abuse and incest and everything was discussed, because it's just inappropriate to give children access to that. Which, yeah, they were just correct, but apparently Britt and Courtney didn't like that. Someone had even argued with Courtney about it at the time. I assumed this big overhaul had to do with getting good moderation. Like I said, you clearly do not want to be there. No love host, have a good or moderate your server with members that include abuse victims and minors, and don't threaten to dox people. It's not lost on me that you failed to answer the why do your 18 plus servers go by the honor system question got dodged. Because the 18 plus server was fucking stone as shit until Poppy came in and wanted to post lewds and nudes, and the server with abuse victims and minors, so when Poppy went, so did the fucking lewds and porn. It was there for at least a week after she left. It was there when I left. So this is just true. There's a lot of sections in the server in the 18 plus sections that are explicitly sexual, including the image Courtney posted. So all of this, kind of not true. Kind of not true at all. Again, I do feel it's worth mentioning that Britt was a moderator in Courtney's original server while this was happened, and publicly defended the way which server was moderated. Oh, KP mention. Looking at the camera as we speak. I should also mention that I Love Kim Possible a Lot was allowed to be in an impromptu group call with no prior planning. On minimal moderation when she was still on the fence about associating with Lily Orchard in a Lily Orchard victim Discord. This is when we were trying to keep things on the down low so we could potentially take Lily to court. While KP had the right to do that call, the call itself was incredibly reckless and hurt her cause. Nothing against KP, she didn't know about this was the mod's fault. Aha. Interesting. Interesting, KP. Thank you for reaching out. I was not in the server when the Poppy and Xena were, so the testimony is enlightening. Most of this is bullshit. The stoner shit was exactly what it sounds like. A chat for some of us who smoked weed to chat while stoned. That's it. Incorrect. Incorrect. Inco-fucking-rect. Inco-fucking-rect. Literally not what's true. Yeah, I'm literally staring at the camera like I'm in the office, because what do you mean there's more shit about KP? The spicy selfies thread was locked and only accessible by Poppy, who was the one who insisted on it, Mods, and one other person, whom I'm assume was the person who sent this anon since they left with Poppy. I think who it is, they didn't leave because they thought Poppy's server would be managed better, they left because Poppy had been flirting with them. First off, any assertion that Britt makes about someone else's motivations should be taken with a grain of salt. If she doesn't provide tangible proof, chances are she's just assuming this based on her own bad faith interpretation. She's done this to many former friends and people in general. To assert that one of the people who were being allegedly harassed by Poppy into choosing a side did it because Poppy had been flirting with them is incredibly gross. It's literally tossing aside any evidence of emotional abuse and coercion out of the window in favor of what? Infatuation? Dropping all this pretense for a moment, this is fucking vile behavior, and one of my main goals with this doc is to make sure that nobody takes her at her word for shit like this again. As for the main part, there were sexual photos in the Stoner Clubhouse channel prior to the creation of the spicy selfies thread, so this is not accurate. Yep, this is what I talked about in my Courtney video, where Courtney just straight up posts a picture of her with her ass out. She just posted that in that thread. That wasn't age-gated. So, just, just so you guys know. This photo is unavailable in the logs, however it is confirmed to have her ass showing. Pinups are go make the world around. Oh, this is from my server. Thank you, hyphening. I stand for my server. This is from my video. Lol. Me when I have a stroke. Cause her ass is showing. Yikes. Zoophilia. With this new information brought to light, we decided to re-examine the other logs put forward with the additional context this message lays out. We began with the Terra logs. We started grouping the messages by subject and found that several of the screenshots may have been from one conversation separated in the archive by Britt. There appears to be still parts of this conversation missing, but it's plenty bad though. The blue bubbles are Britt, the grey ones are allegedly Terra/Lily. Trigger warning again, discussions of actual bestiality. Okay. I'm grabbing a drink, sipping it. I'm gonna have a read. I just sunk to a new extreme. What's up? I banged a dog. Oh, sweet lord. It was great. Really? Yeah, so how was the dog? Damn good. No, I licked her up. Oh, it was a her. Yep. You seriously ate out a dog? Yep. And the dog sat still and enjoyed it? Uh-huh. Whoa.
Bruh.
These screenshots... Huh? Yeah?
Sorry, I'm just gassed currently.
No, it's okay. I saw the first parts of it and was like, this is not gonna be fun. Oh boy. The screenshots are partial due to Britt's own cropping. While she tried to pass off her edits as sparing as boring and irrelevant conversations, I don't see how the rest of this conversation could possibly be irrelevant. The only person with access to the rest of the context is her. That ball is now in her court. While it's important to note that Lily and Britt are the same age, we were both adults in these messages. The rest of the skyblocks are accessible via the additional evidence tab in the sidebar. For now, let's get to the main point of this. Looking for another Lily. Aside from making pred hunting her brand, it's still a problem because she's using it as a way to regain some kind of relevance by latching onto whatever the next pred hunting bandwagon is. We've been there. That's why we speak out against people we do so hard. Many of us came from communities like these. We've heard and fell for things that recognize tactics that they use. Many of us have been deeply hurt by people like this. We've been there and we don't want to see it happen again. Lily Orchard, I suggest Force Fem, Patricia Taxon, ISFF. I need to stress that this is not a defense of any of the subjects of this criticism. There are many very real and valid problems with people like Lily, Patricia, and ISFF. The issue is that Brits' approach to these kinds of investigations and campaigns come from the wrong kinds of motivations that use the wrong methods and are ultimately deeply and actively harmful to the credibility and efficacy. I am in hell, dude. I am in hell, my dude.
How do you think I feel about that?
The initial information drops that she and Courtney were made extremely important and significant blows to Lily's popularity and influence. Problem is that they both attempted to write these moments into long-term relevance and validation from Courtney's DMs from me. Oh yeah, this is what I started the video with, where Courtney says, I had always figured I'd never stumble into going viral, and then Lily fell into my lap. They actively tried to take over the movement that should prioritize the well-being of victims over all else and hijacked it for their own personal grudges and egos, prioritizing their own victimhood instead. The way they've handled this has actively harmed victims who have trusted them and set awful examples for all the younger people. See, okay, yeah. Courtney's actions are their own pile of problems that even Hidden's video doesn't fully cover. She didn't even get into how Courtney has burned through alley after being extremely shitty to survivors in their communities in general, like Crimson Ender, Cy Scribbles, Antonia Gramuglia, and Lio Convoy, or how casually she throws around accusations of pedophilia towards people she hates. Speaking of which, Britt distributed CSAM. Sops in hands. Oh lord. The Lily critical sphere came to possess a potential link between Lily and several accounts on Senkaku Complex. Senkaku is known for hosting extreme hentai and has been involved in multiple investigations and arrests for the possessions of CSAM. The community began sharing links, archives, and even a Google Drive full of images from the account allegedly belonging to Lily. Britt reblocked the post linking the drive, clearly knowing it was potentially criminally actionable. Abaratara's porn, here's a link to the Google Drive. Sorry I only got 7 screenshots, I didn't realize last night that it was going to be deleted or would have gotten more. Content warning, lolly, incest, underage, shota, bestiality, rape. The vast majority are not censored in the slightest, even in thumbnails. And then Britt reblocks this and says, I'm usually not a sticker for trigger warnings, but this post absolutely needs it. Many of the images in this link are real. Here's a post where Britt archived the Senkaku account and reposted it. I don't even know anymore. Trigger warning, not safe for live content. It's another Senkaku account. Alitin Essentia, and yeah. Okay, so Essentia is one of the characters in Lily's fanfiction. I'm assuming that's how we linked it to Lily. So, yay. The thing is that this ended up being a textbook example of why you don't share things like this publicly before turning them into the police. There's no way for the authorities to track the creator of the accounts because they were deleted soon after they were publicly revealed. Anonymous asked, Lily Orchard was found seeking hardcore content on a dark web CSEM peddling forum. Holy shit, when? I've genuinely not seen anything about it, I've just seen the new Poker Madhouse stuff. Oh, so someone else found it. Yeah, that site is a dark web CSEM hosting platform, and it hosts hardcore, and she's on it. It looks like the images were removed. I still have the screenshots for the post, but I won't be posting them here again due to the guidelines' graphic nature and the fact that the forum name shouldn't be spread. It was a forum post made by Abaratara on an infamous CSEM forum seeking graphic content of children that looked like OP's sister, along with the description of the sibling down to nipple color. Yes. Lily Orchard is a predator, Lily Orchard is a pedophile. Okay. Trigger warning, not safe for work, not safe for life, trigger warning CSA, Lily Orchard, Lily Pede. Trigger warning CP. Oh, thank you, Britt. So glad. So glad that you trigger warning. Trigger warning.
All right, I think I'm gonna dip for now, but have fun with the rest of your stream.
Thank you. Enjoy life, dude. I'm gonna
Try not to fucking die while I'm gone.
I'll make it tense. Not on my life,
Chat.
but you know. See ya.
Bye-bye. Bye, chat.
Bye. So are you okay, wait, no. Girl, you're telling me that you reposted CP? Britt, you dumb fucking broad. I can't fucking believe you. Yeah, sure, let me casually retweet CP onto my blog that I know children are following because I'm calling out Lily Ochid, and I advocated myself to be a safe space for Lily Ochid's victims. That's a normal thing to do. Sops in hands, dude. As we've seen with other situations above, she's actively denied doing this. One of my ex-friends is Lily Stan, and says the reason you're not linking the Sankaku accounts is because there's actually nothing incriminating in here. It's just big booby anime woman, allegedly. I'm sure I need eye bleach after this, but can you please debunk this? Because one, both you and I are in the US, posting the link doesn't count as violating the law, and two, Lily Stans really need to understand just how bad it actually is. Okay. I can't link the drive because it would get me put on a list, and I refuse to subject anybody to the content in it, except for the time that you shared it, I guess. Plus, the archive links show some of the uncensored favorites and have pornets all over the place. The most I can do publicly is post the screenshots of the archive. Okay. If you or your friend want to DM me to see the archive links, assuming you're both adults, I'll show them. It's not something I'm willing to post publicly. I also refuse to link anyone to the Google Drive containing the uncensored content due to, like... What is this? What is this, then? What is all this, then? What is all this? What's this, then? What is all this, then? Girl! Me when I lie! Now that she mentions it, it should be noted that this content is in fact illegal in Brit states. Viewing the link, sharing the link, or zooming in on images, or having a Google Drive full of images is enough to face criminal charges. Fair enough. It's really, really important to note that it does not matter she signposted the content with a warning as to what it was, which is an actual argument I've heard people use to defend this. I need those people to take a second and realize what they look at. Sensible person, she shared a link to child pornography. Weirdos, yeah, but she labeled the link as child pornography first. Is this where we at? Like, as humans? Where we're like, as long as you put down what it is, it's fine. Is that where we at, but like, in humanity? As, like, humans? Okay, sure. If you think that sharing CSEM on fucking Tumblr is okay if you just put trigger warning CP in the tags, the fuck is wrong with you? Think for 2 seconds what you'd think if somebody else did that. Maybe someone you don't like. Okay, just needed to get that out. Now you may be thinking that there's no proof she actually viewed the images themselves. This isn't the case because she admitted to it herself. Britt says, I'm waiting for the day her Tara Callie arrest story becomes a fulfilled prophecy. Deleted user says, I want to grab my 14-year-old self and ask him to direct some healthier ways to express sexuality besides scrolling the blog of a predator on a dirty ask night. Like, yeah, I know you're a budding hedonist and I know you're bored and horny, but there's better ways, shaking my small dumb shit self. Also leave cartoon discourse. Britt says, also God's above, I've seen the horrors she favorites on sketchy websites. She'd get an extra fucking arrested. We're talking prison and solitary confinement to keep from getting murdered. Deleted user says, yeah, because Canada CP laws don't cover drawn R2 and don't have the same realism stipulation America law has. Cybermega says, a lot of it was worse than drawn. So you're telling me it was real fucking shit? Holy shit, Britt. You're telling me it was actual people? If you're saying it was worse than drawn. I'm on the floor. I'm on the floor, people. Under the additional evidence tab in the sidebar, I've included screenshots of anonymous contribution to Britt's blog describing the contents of the folder, which is clear evidence that her sharing the information has led to others going through it. I felt like it was important to include it as proof, but it's also extremely upsetting to read, so I have opted it down. Yeah, okay. Oh, it was 3D modeled. Okay, I see. So it wasn't drawn, it was 3D modeled. It wasn't in real life CP. It was 3D modeled CP. I see. Okay. You can proceed without reading it, but if you feel brave strong enough, remember that Britt has repeatedly insisted that it's intentionally for a blog to be accessible to minors. The idea that she posted that with the direct intention of minors seeing it is something I don't have strong enough words for. Even worse, by her own admission, she's likely received these links to CSEM from a minor who apparently checks those sites to report images to the authorities. Dude. Wood chipper. 7 million years of wood chipper. You're not welcome in this household, Britt. You're not welcome on planet Earth. Wood chipper. Anonymous asked, most pedophiles were pedophiles victims at some point. I'm now 100% convinced the Anon who found Red probably made the Sankaku account as a pedo. They're on there because they get off to it and want to fuck kids. And then Britt replies, they've already addressed that concern. They were a multi-year victim of a groomer 3D lolly artist in their childhood, and they're terribly afraid of images of themselves ending up on their website. They scroll tags to report images to the authorities, and I'm pretty sure they're a minor still. And you've not told them to not do that? You didn't think that would have been important? To not tell the child to not scroll child porn? Awesome, thank you, Britt. I hope I don't have to explain why this child should be getting help to resist these urges, but Britt still chose not to report it. Why? You might think that it was because the kid was already reporting it. If that's the explanation, the follow-up question should be, why didn't you also report it because you're an adult and can make sure it's done correctly? But it's not. Britt's explanation for not reporting these illegal images was that she wouldn't be able to prove it was Lily. Because that's the thing we're worried about, right? Not the child porn. We have to prove it's Lily's child porn. Rando Drago asked, okay, genuine question here, but have you or anyone else, since you discovered the Yabara Tara account, reported that to Kanaga's cybercrime tip line? I just want to know. Because all we have in the eyes of the law enforcement is a random username that isn't solidly linked to Lily, I could Peppy Silver connect all the dots to them until I'm blue in the face, but law enforcement will not care unless there's an easy link with her name explicitly attached. It's hard enough to get law enforcement to care when the perpetrator is outright publicly admits to what they're doing. Look at fucking hypnotist Sappho's history and tell me why she's still walking free. So, just to go into this briefly, because I worked with the Cybertip Canada website before, it's ridiculously easy to report things, and you're not required to tell the Cybertip hotline who you think this person is. You can try, but the most important part is that you just link the material and then possibly link to who it is. There's no reason to specify that it's Lily's. It's still, at the end of the day, child porn you should fucking report. What do you mean it matters if it's Lily's? It doesn't matter if you can connect it to Lily, it matters that it's child porn. Dude. Let's take a second to think about that. If the account was actually owned by Lily, then Britt wouldn't have to prove it was Lily because the cops would have tracked down the account to the owner and arrested them whether it was Lily or not. Even worse, Britt doesn't seem to be interested in reporting child pornography to law enforcement unless it directly serves the goal of taking down Lily. If Britt is actually concerned about the safety of children, why wouldn't she report child pornography regardless of whether the account owner was Lily or not? To venture even further, why would she share these links on her Tumblr knowing that minors followed her and she deliberately refused to age-gate it? Oh yeah! Why don't you have a minors do not interact? I know you allow minors to participate in the space at all. It's one thing to warn them, it's another to let them get involved. Chris Hansen wasn't letting real kids participate in To Catch a Predator. You shouldn't either. Are you serious? The whole point was to warn people who are vulnerable to her. Oh my god, kids! I found child pornography! Here, look! Fucking... I swear to god, dude. I swear to god. The most disturbing part is that based on her description of these images, many of the drawn or 3D images in the folder are very likely to have originated from real children. Real children who got sexually abused for real in real life by real predators. So this was real child predation being put on a display for the public. Britt passed around children's real trauma and pain as the latest ammo against Lily, and deliberately refused to report it to the authorities. The worst part is that the authorities who could actually have done something about it and tracked down the account owner will never be able to because Britt's anti-Lily Orchard group decided it would be better to pass around on Tumblr instead of reporting it, which, like I said before, resulted in the accounts getting deleted soon after. They did eventually report it, but Britt was not the one who filed it. So just know that when these people tell you it's about child safety, they're lying. They're not in it to protect victims or help them heal, they're in it for their own egos and to feel like vigilante heroes. Awesome. Thank you. But this is like something that I have been gotten very mad about in most cases, where people will a lot of the times put down going public with it first over talking to law enforcement and see what they can do. Even if it's just filing a tip at cybercrimes, even if it's just getting a tip to a general direction, it's important that you do that first, because the moment you go public with it, perpetrators will know, and they will delete shit if you go big enough. That's why it matters. That's why archiving matters. That's why reporting matters. Because the moment you turn it into content for people, like videos or documents, people are going to delete their shit. So the fact that Britt is sitting here being like, oh yeah, let me just like post real CP links, or well, you know, let me post child porn links that are drawn or 3D modeled on my Tumblr and shared around to a blog that I want minors to follow so they can be safe about Lily, before I even consider reporting anything because I can't definitively link it to Lily and that's all that matters. What a choice from somebody who claims that they care about CSEM victims and victims in general. What a choice. Rest stop. Thank you for sticking with me this far. We're almost done. Here I have a baby artwork. I think we all need it. Take a breather as long as you need. Look at the baby. Look at the baby, guys. Look at the baby. Wow, hit! I wonder who we know who also did that and prioritized making shitty YouTube comments instead of filing a police report. Yeah. Yeah, Haikal. Who we know who did that. It's not like we know that this is something that was a problem the other time. Who knows? Britt Part 3, Harming Minors. This loops back around to the section regarding my harassment allegations, serving as a conclusion to it. As long as arduous as it's been, the context is directly relevant to this section. So far, we've seen that Britt just views any mature minor as just a person. Doesn't think that they should be protected from explicit content, and doesn't understand that there are ways to educate them without exposing them to not safe for work content. This section shows that lack of a line extends to who she directs her aggression towards, the 15-year-old 2026. During the writing of this doc, Britt found a 15-year-old girl mocking her on Tumblr, promptly posted the anon that sent her the full archived link of the kid's blog. Hey, I'm pretty sure this user is posting your government name, web archive. They're 15, and I assume a Lily fan since she's the one who originally dropped my government name. They can bitch and whine about me all they want, they'll grow out of it eventually. Oh, sorry, I had a hiccup again. While I don't think doxing is acceptable, Britt's full name has been publicly available since she published it in her Lily Logs in 2018. Britt calling attention to this is incredibly dangerous and could put the minor in question at serious risk of being targeted by her audience. Given her track record, I was appalled to see that it directly led to the kid being harassed. Anonymous, are you a troon? Oh my god. Why? Why? When her audience attacked, they immediately jumped to calling her slurs. Remember, this directly followed Britt attacking her publicly, so while this could be potentially argued as an assumption, the correlation is pretty blatant. Fortunately, the kid is hilarious and took it in stride. Anonymous, since Britt won't say it, I will. You're pathetic, a smegma-chewing, pathetic little shit so focused on harassing a lesbian. Kill yourself. Clapping gif. This is the kind of audience Britt has cultivated. These people aren't afraid to sexually harass teenagers. Here's one crassly describing them masturbating. Holy crap, kid, you make yourself look like a real blank. Instead of finger-jamming your prolapsic anus while harassing random women, you should find a nice sturdy rope. Here's another slur. You know, you're really not understanding how to take people down, which is expected from someone who's as useful as shit-flavored lollipop, but still... My lord. I think maybe I like making hidden say slurs. Every time I just don't catch them because English is hard. And then I mind my fucking manners and boom, I accidentally read out a slur. I'm so sorry, people. I think I've proven my point. To her credit, Britt did reblock this post that mostly said the right things. Don't know why she couldn't have said something in her own word, but credit where credit is due. Britt's Galaxy Brain reposted. I don't really care what the 15-year-old is saying online, but if those rape threats and racial slurs aren't just them sending an and hate to themselves, I think the people who are doing it need to take a step back and actually take an objective look at what they're doing. That is a child, acting like a child online because they think it will be cool or whatever. The threats or slurs aren't going to do what you want outside of them chasing them directly towards the kind of people you want them to avoid. The problem is that she cultivated— oh, I just realized I'm late, lol. I'm in the sense of like, I haven't followed my own fucking stream. I've been like a minute late. No wonder your comments didn't make sense, Chad. The problem is that she cultivated a following that thinks this kind of behavior is appropriate because of how she acts. The example that she sets for them is that when she deems somebody suitable as a target, so she should have learned a long time ago that when she publicly draws attention to them, she's directing that kind of behavior to them. Britt's Galaxy Brain. Anonymous asked, but okay, but you're not making trans women kill themselves, you're just bringing attention to the predators in the community. What they do after that is on them. Is it tragic if someone takes their life? Of course, but you are not responsible for their actions. These people know that. They just need outsiders looking in to believe that this is a bigotry issue so they can keep getting away with it. At this point, I genuinely wonder if some of them have managed to convince themselves that their only options are to normalize sexualizing kids so I can keep doing it, or kill myself. They thought of a secret third option doesn't even enter the equation because that's not what they want. That is the reality of having influence and a platform. It's imperative that you handle this responsibility with care. This was a situation where Britt should have taken accountability for directing harassment, not waffle about how it's not being real anyway, and also definitely not her fault. If this has established anything, it's that Britt is a danger to children and should not be under any circumstances. Oh god, I just read this. I just read this. I'm not happy, Chad. Not happy, Chad. The 16-year-old reposting nudes. It's also important to note that this is not a defense of the subject of Britt's criticism here, it's about the fall-off effect of her actions. First, a reminder that Britt fully intends for her blog to have a child audience. Yeah, so we know this. This is significant because an inevitable consequence of her pushing minors to engage with her blog is that, at some point, a traumatized minor looking for catharsis will start to imitate Britt's behavior, which are clearly focused more on catharsis than actually effective actions and consequences. This is what happened when this particular minor tried to follow in Britt's footsteps, attacking somebody on Tumblr. While the target of this has somewhat decidedly questionable takes, the importance here is not whether or not they're innocent of criticism, it's that a child decided to model herself after Britt and get directly involved. The post below, by a 16-year-old, contains a photo of the nude ass of somebody that Britt had been publicly targeting for criticizing her. Pixelation censorship is mine. Size, self-harm art, and very carefully cropped and filtered, not safe for work under the cut. First of all, tag you them bad and heavy maybe don't post art that causes people to self-harm, high maintenance with zero criticism. Hey, so in what universe is reposting my nudes okay? Carefully cropped, my entire ass crack is visible, please go report this weird asshole. Trigger warning, but? The minor went on to create a post apologizing for distributing the poorly cropped nude above. Society, chat. I will be completely honest and be the best me I can be. I started this blog because I was triggered into getting behind a movement that I thought I could be a part of, but inevitably wasn't. I was targeting a trans woman for no reason and wrongfully engaged in sexual harassment that was mistargeted and shouldn't even have been brought up or discussed in the first place because it is wrong to be anti-nude or nudity on Tumblr to begin with. Okay, so this is just the kid. The word triggered is noteworthy to me because of just how much Britt's posts hinge on sexual abuse and trauma. The young people who engage with her content become increasingly re-traumatized and radicalized through it, being exposed to discussions of kinks, incest, rape at an early age creates a damaging worldview, especially when they're as reactionary and rooted in trauma responses as Britt. Okay. I'm probably wrong about even supporting Britt in gang stalking, like, okay. And I should not publicly shame her even as a minor. Okay. Here the author confirms that they are underage and likely shouldn't have been looking at any of this content to begin with. Remember, Britt wants and encourages minors to look at her posts. The exposure of kink and sexual violence through Britt's blog directly led to this outcome. Here she acknowledges that the kid is a minor, but immediately pivots to how it's a point of guilt for her target, not how it's inappropriate for a child to be in these spaces or engaging with these subjects. Lord, I'm 1. Lord, I'm 2. Britt's Galaxy Brain. Blank is only 16? Jesus fuck. I'd also like to point out that this is the proof that Lily is knowingly reaching out to minors on the same blog that she regularly posts ass pics, kink posting, and pedophilia defense. No, Britt. You're the blog that reposts child porn while acknowledging kids are following you. Fucking weirdo. Britt has a kink safety tag on her Tumblr. I would let Tepis put a bridle on- Looney, where are you? This is a post for you. I would let Tepis put a bridle on me and latch me to her wheelchair. I would not fuck an actual horse, nor did I find the thought of fucking a horse appealing or okay. Kink safety. What part about this is kink safety? If you ask me, this is just horny posting, also a loud and weird denial of something I didn't feel needed to be explicitly stated. On her blog, where she openly bemoaned getting marked as mature and wanted minors to engage with for their safety. I don't have to explain any further why this is dangerous for a 16-year-old. The situations are exceedingly toxic and harmful towards people with mental health issues, especially if they're that young. Britt is actively encouraging this kind of harm under the guise of keeping them safe, but the idea that a child is looking at this kind of material every day makes them somehow safer is clearly grounded in justifying her own self-righteousness. Easy, 17. Remember this screenshot. We do remember. The non-Brit person in the screenshot is Easy, making it public. Britt and others were receiving negative anons related to racism that were clearly written by a young person, and Britt assumed it was Easy. Okay. I appreciate this. I need to clarify I'm in fact wise. I'll be addressing this shit later. The worst part is that the people accusing me aren't Lily fans in the slightest. They're now former friends who turned on me overnight. Most of them were calling her racist or otherwise just kind of rude. The source of the ask can be found here. Okay, so... Good lord. I decided to ask the kid Britt had accused of sending the anons myself to make sure it wasn't her. Okay, so we've also seen this before. I think, yeah. It turned out that the anons were an entirely different kid who had never been in my server but was friends with one of the members at the time. Britt, once again relying on her bad faith assumptions, made several public posts condemning the kid she believed to be guilty. In an attempt to de-escalate, I contacted Britt via Tumblr and informed her of the situation. Hey, just so you know, I never encouraged anyone to send you anons at all. Easy doesn't have a Tumblr. The person responsible was friends with a kid who isn't very active in my server and was cut off by said child for doing so. None of us want you harassed. This, of course, quickly went south because a kid from the server whose former friends sent the anon had angrily messaged Britt and it soured the interaction. I don't think they should have interacted with Britt at all, but I do not fault them for it. It was a messy situation and accept my role in it. Regardless, I still made a final attempt at de-escalating before Britt blocked me. The point is, Easy didn't send them, and she never wanted anything of this to happen. You roping Blank and Nicole into all that was even more fucked. Blank wasn't even involved in the conversation, and she was heartbroken and betrayed. I don't want to fight with you, though. You've decided I'm a stereotypical racist white Karen and had apparently been lying to my face for weeks about how you really felt about me, Nicole, and Blank. I'm not dealing with two-faced people anymore. Cool. The actual kid harassing Britt got his tablet taken away and the anons went quiet for a few weeks. Suddenly we saw them start back up. Despite finding out that her previous assumptions had been completely wrong, Britt immediately jumped to the conclusion of it being the same kid and started attacking them. Okay. Oh my god, I hidden this slur you can say! Thank you. Thank you, Haikal. This is just the stream of me accidentally reading out slurs because I'm so immersed in reading things out for you. Britt dropped a series of screenshots of the fight between Easy and herself, giving Easy the pseudonym Green and specifically accusing me of egging on harassment. As for the full argument, the Britt vs. Easy tab is therefore for context. Green is 17. Yeah, we can tell. Britt says, I'm honestly more disappointed that the adults who were involved egged Green on. I again began investigating. I do not condone harassment of any kind and wanted to put a stop to it. Please note that the theory about it being somebody named Sparky is unverifiable and should not be taken as fact. So yeah, so they're talking about it again. I see. The original Anon author was out of commission as his mother had taken all of his devices away and had not returned them. I couldn't have been him. To this day, we have no idea who it could have been. I should mention that some of the black people I spoke to regarding these Anons pointed out they used AAVEA, African American Vernacular English, incorrectly, or in a way that felt unnatural, like a non-black person pretending to sound black to cover their real identity. It's time for more sippy, dude. I can hop on for an ethical reading. Thank you, Heiko. Thank God I have you, Cal. Even after Britt was notified that she was accusing the wrong person of harassing her, she continued accusing them publicly. This person was a minor named Easy that was in my Discord server intended to replace Courtney's original support server for CSA victims. As a result of the actions Britt of Britt that I detail in this section, the server has since been made 18+, and the youngest people in that server were moved to the teen server exclusively. Britt and Nicole refused Easy the decency of anonymity. They repeatedly insinuated she was an adult when she was 17-year-olds, and again innocent of the accusations they levied at her. Britt, also this kid was 17, likely 18 by now, old enough to know better. Blank, my personal favorite is stalking when these people are pulling your very public, very easy to find statements and actions that you yourself put out there. Britt says the best part is that nobody was pulling up her socials or her name because she allegedly doesn't have any. She was running around in people's add-ons spreading accusations about me, and I responded with the censored screenshots of the whole conversation. That's what she's claiming is me beating down on her. I guess she expected me to just not respond and let her run her mouth. Yeah, I can't say that I'm surprised Britt would split hair as someone being likely 18 already. Oh no, not the jailbait again. Not the jailbait again, dude. Ow. It's important to note that Easy exclusively uses she/her pronouns, and many of the screenshots regarding her are pre-transition. They have been edited solely to include her current pronouns with nothing else being altered. I doubted you were directly encouraging it, but the add-ons were extremely similar to how Easy had been talking, so she was the only one I could guess was sending them. I appreciate you letting me know. One of the other accusations thrown at her was that she sexually harassed Britt in a lesbophobic manner. Anonymous asked, Snow Bunny is a white woman who only goes for black men. In no world can it be interpreted in a non-sexual insult. I find it even more revolting that you are a lesbian, and I've never seen this word used for a white woman only attracted to black women. This is a sexual harassment, and at the very least really fucking weird and creepy to say, especially to someone you know is a lesbian. Britt says, thank you. That's what I was under the impression of as well, hence why I felt like it squawked the hell out of me on multiple levels. But no, apparently me pointing out that it makes me even more racist and potentially weird toward a minor. The term Snow Bunny is in fact used by black lesbians within the community. It's also generally used by younger black people to call someone an annoying white woman derogatory. While not the traditional way the term is used, it does get used that way. She's also the only person who has ever called me a snow bunny, and it's incredibly fucking weird that you and blank were okay with a minor throwing a sexual insult as a grown adult. It's not intrinsically sexual? Do you not know what that means? Black people use that term to refer to white women in other contexts as well. Bullshit, it's a white girl that gets both black guys for racist reasons. And yes, I've had a few black fools who saw these add-ons confirm that's what it means. I actually second-guessed myself at this point and asked a black person for input at the time to make sure my information is correct. Fennec, is the term Snow Bunny always sexual? No, you will not die on me, fucking monitor. Blank says, no, not always, it usually just means white girl. Fennec says, okay, cool, I thought so. Blank says, for further clarification, Snow Bunny is often used in the terms of dating, yes, but it isn't necessarily sexual, it's entirely contextual. In the same way, N-word is contextual. Fennec says, yes, I thought so. Britt is arguing with me about it. I informed the individual of the circumstances and they were shocked that Britt was making this argument at all. What? Fennec says, yup. Blank says she's literally white. Why is she trying to argue about it? Fennec says she wants to imply Easy was sexually harassing her in my DMs and is accusing me of encouraging her to do so. Blank says, what? Easy literally wouldn't do that. Fennec says, I know. The black person I spoke to regarding the situation was angered by Britt's action and lack of knowledge about black culture. Blank. Okay, as a black person, this is pissing me off. 1 second. Okay, so Snow Bunny being used sexual is literally outdated. That's only on Pornhub, and Easy did not send that. And it's racist to accuse a black kid who barely talks to you of sexually harassing you. She literally has evidence that it wasn't her. She deactivated her Tumblr account. I also tried getting statements from black lesbians on the matter, but they had very little to say because of ludicrous they found the situation. I don't want to be specific to the situation, just hypothetically, would the term Snow Bunny be sexual harassment and or lesbophobic? Blank says, no, honestly, you'd really have to grasp at straws for it to be. Britt actually had a black person reach out with the intent to educate her both about the situation at hand and the contextual nature of the term Snow Bunny. The person who called Britt who's lesbian a Snow Bunny? This person says, no, I don't use that word because I find it goofy. Interesting how you assume a black person arguing with Britt makes them the only one who said that though. This person says, if I assumed, I wouldn't have asked. You're acting a lot like them though. Britt says he isn't, but he sure as hell doesn't see anything wrong with a lesbian being called that by a 17-year-old. She immediately tried to insinuate that they were lesbophobic. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Britt isn't exactly the person whose perspective on black culture should be given much authority. I asked an old roommate of mine about her hair once, and since I didn't have a black friends growing up, I'm genuinely curious about their hair is different than mine. Malika Studios, you mean why do black people have sheep's wool hair? Brittany says it just baffles me since people want to be understood, yet get angry when anyone asks them questions to try and understand, given the questions aren't actually offensive. No, I literally asked her how her hair was different. I know it's stiffer, and that's about it, but I was curious what made it that way. Society. Britt has been open about her lack of experience surrounding black people and their culture in the past. It's safe to say that she wasn't aware of the connotations of the term that have shifted over time, despite it being repeatedly informed of exactly that. She even had linked posts in Say's server to make the situation more visible. Britt says, easy spack. Blank says, you mean the one of the bozos who made a shitty Steven Universe bit? Britt says that miner from Fennec's server that went around trying to convince people I'm racist. Then Britt made it even weirder by an absurd amount of posts about this. I'm not even going to include all of the full screenshots, just look at the preview images for the batch of 7. Remember, this is about a 17-year-old black trans girl calling her an annoying white woman. Minors can very much sexually harass older women, and someone who happens to be black calling a lesbian woman a snowbunny isn't just sexual harassment, but also feels kinda homophobic. Correct me if I'm wrong on that assumption. I had the same suspicion. Good lord. This isn't even all of them, this is just a handful I found offhandedly. Somehow she doesn't have the self-awareness to see how obsessive this is, even though she recently called KP out for beefing with a teenager. Ho, KP mention. Britt says she seems the kind of person who expects everyone around her to deal with it, otherwise she breaks down and can't handle it. She has no coping skills of her own, and that's probably at least partially due to the fact that it would require unpacking uncomfortable truth about herself, like how holding a grudge against a teenager is weird. The teenager this is about has zero online presence, but she continuously posted about this for over a year with the apparent intent to paint the teenager as a sexual harasser and cyberstalker. Anonymous said, I'm sorry, so many accusations were thrown at you in that chat. It's really weird when people throw out these kinds of accusations simply because they don't like you. Something you said or misinterpreted something you did or said. Calling you a snow bunny on top of calling you racist is just icky, honestly. Don't sexually harass people, even those you don't like. It's not that hard. Britt says they denied it was sexual harassment and made some disturbing insinuations about me for pointing it out. Anonymous asked, what kind of insinuations did they make when they said something about the snow bunny comment? Sorry it was in the screenshots and I just missed it. Britt says that was something insinuated in the DMs after the fact. Someone was trying to say I was weird and potentially suspicious for thinking a minor was trying to sexually harass me, which I never actually said that. I said it felt weird that a minor was throwing sexual insults at me. Since they were denying that the insult was sexual at all, they tried to twist it back to me as if I was the one being weird towards the minor. And then there's the one we just read. The last time she made a public post about Easy was June 7th, 2024. Remember those nasty add-ons that Nicole got? She was accusing Annie of She was accusing Easy of sending those solely because they were directed at Nicole. Yeah, okay, so we remember this. Britt accuses just about everyone she personally beefs with of anonymous harassment, so it's not surprising a tactic coming from her. What's disturbing to me is her inability to use restraint when a teenager is involved. Also, hi Lio. I think the fact that Britt has been obsessing over Lily posting about her daily, often multiple times, for over a decade is more of a problem. Lio, did you miss the part where Britt reposted CP? I think that's like my personal biggest problem. I think my personal biggest problem is that she repeatedly reposted either direct fucking links to CP or just sites that linked CP. But yes, also the obsession with Lily is weird, and the idea that she will only report CP if it links back to Lily is also weird. Put Britt in the woodchopper, dude. Put Britt in the fucking woodchopper. The harm. These accusations affected Easy deeply. The continued piling on what she saw online from Britt and others led to her feeling like she was predatory for having an emotional outburst. She grew up in an extremely abusive home environment, which Britt was aware of, and this situation worsened her existing mental health issues drastically. Then, following the release of my first doc, Britt reignited the campaign surrounding me and Easy by proxy with this post. It brought extra attention to the situation that hadn't existed prior. Anonymous asks, "Do you have any history with Fennec?" And Britt replies, "Funny you should ask." Britt continued to post about Easy for several weeks, referring to her as Green or by her screen name. She assigned any negative asks that she considered to be from a black person to Easy. Britt's Galaxy Brain reblocked, Android still defending racists and pedophiles. Okay, so the pedophiles one is new. And then Britt says Green's back. Easy, breaking under the pressure of an older white woman with a large platform falsely accusing her of sexual harassment, made an attempt on her life. To preface, C is me. Fennec says, "Is Easy okay?" Blank says, "Yes." C says, "Okay, I've been really worried." And Blank says she's fine physically. Fennec says, "It's all horrible, I know." Blank says, "She said she just wants you to not blame yourself for anything going on. She feels bad." Fennec says, "I don't want her to feel blamed either. Blank says, "She said she doesn't trust anyone anymore because of this." Fennec says, "I understand why, to be honest. I feel similarly. I hope that she can at least feel safe enough to stick around us." Blank says, "Yeah, probably will." Fennec says, "Okay." Blank says, "She just can't go on the internet for a while and hasn't been able to." Fennec says, "Okay." Blank told me she was hospitalized. Blank says, "Her mom's been the one communicating to me." "Yeah." Fennec says, "I see." Blank says, "It just sucks. We were supposed to meet up." Fennec says, "Oh." This is why I pulled the original doc. I didn't want anyone else to get hurt. Easy and the person in these messages are close online friends who had intended to meet each other's families in person for a vacation. This is why they were in close contact. This also adds validity to the claims made by the individual here. Blank says, "And now she's in the hospital because she wants to die. I feel so bad." Fennec says, "I hate that this ruined so much." Blank said, "We both don't want you to feel like it was because of the doc, because Britt sucks. She already was feeling this way because of the stuff Britt was saying." Fennec said, "Britt just cranked it up to 11 because she saw an angry mob and wanted to feed her own ego. She can never say she believes victims again." I want to respect Easy's privacy, so I won't go into the details of how, but the situation surrounding Britt and the hospitalization led directly to her being outed as trans to her transphobic family when they went through her phone. She was unsure of whether she would have a home at all following her 2 weeks of hospitalization. Easy's sibling, who goes by the name of Rude, pronounced like rude, did reach out to Britt, but I don't have screenshots of that conversation. Britt is more than welcome to share them. According to Easy, her sibling has a cognitive disability that makes communicating difficult. They also kept those of us close to Easy online informed about how she was doing following the attempt of her life. Rude also said that Easy might have gone mute from the trauma of this all, which is crazy. Fennec says, "Oh, that's terrible." Blank says, "Apparently she's only said a few words since she was hospitalized." Sheev and others accused Rude of being easy unannulled. The Tapist says, "God, please show the proof that that one, because it's just Britt being bullied, harassed, and whisper campaigned about by someone who pretended to be their own sister to guilt trip about how Easy was going to a mental hospital, because Britt said, 'Please stop harassing me,' and showed why they kept calling her racist, which was downright mean and rude for no reason to her in a Discord server. The transphobia, by the way, they changed their pronouns, and she didn't just know instinctively without anyone telling her. This is Sheev, someone in the 30s, asking for proof that a teenager attempted suicide. This is pretty classic cyber harassment tactic used to invalidate victims of said harassment. Unfortunately, this attempt resulted in her transphobic family going through her phone to see what had driven her to this point and finding out she was trans. Blank, yeah, because of this, Easy's dad found out she's queer. She's probably going to get kicked out when she's 18. Fennec said, "Oh Jesus, can she stay with her brother again?" Blank says, "We don't know yet. Maybe." Fennec says, "I really hope so. I just cannot stand the idea of a teenager being homeless." For the record, she was able to find safety and support with her uncle. She is currently still living with him as of the writing of this doc and is safe as happy. That is all that matters to me now. Society. Just like a short break on this, but this is why you don't beef with children on the internet. Because they're fucking stupid. Children are fucking dumb. They will not know when to back down. In fact, 90% of the cases, they will refuse to back down. This is why it's so fucking dumb that Britt decided, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna beef with this teenager and direct harassment their way because I'm mad at them." Fuck you for that. Like, fuck you for that, dude. Like, and there's something I want to show you guys, because yesterday, while I was skimming through this doc and preparing for everything, I was looking at something, and we're just gonna take a detour because it matters to this. And I found out that this is not something that is new to Brit. So there's this thing on Tumblr that I was sent, where a teenager, here you go, a teenager was thinking about attempting suicide. And Brit's response to that was to say, don't answer these people, it's bait. And then the person arguing with these people said, okay, I'm sorry. And then Britt says, you have nothing to apologize for. I'm telling you because this is a guilt trip campaign specifically meant to get a reaction and rile people. Don't feed into it for your own well-being. What a reply to hearing about a child or another person possibly attempting suicide. Where's the empathy? Like, even if you don't like this person, where's the empathy? To look at that and be like, oh, it's like immediately just decide without any proof whatsoever that this is like a guilt trip campaign is insane. Again, here's Britt just being like, don't answer these people, it's bait. Like, you know, you have nothing to apologize for, this is a guilt trip campaign. How do you know that? How do you know that other than that you don't like these people and have decided that's because, you know, their mental health isn't valid? Fuck you for that, Britt. Unironically, fuck you for that. Like, for somebody who talks about how you're like a big old safe space for victims and minors and everything, you sure lose all empathy the moment somebody's not your friend. Screw you. You're awful. Britt made a post about the accusation that she has bullied other trans women into attempting suicide. Okay, so we read through this already. Even if the women she's referring to here are predatory, Britt's scope of her harassment is still far greater than she cares to admit. None of these accusations applied to Easy, and Britt still went after her anyway. Look at the way Britt and Chief Tap has mocked Easy's suicide, an attempt of a Discord server full of adults claiming it wasn't real. Easy's sister put your dad on the phone, Lio voice. Oh, not a fucking Lio Conway moment here. Easy, you're 17, this is some 14-year-old shit, come on man. Britt also said, also, English is my first language, even though it's my sister's, and that's why I said our. Blank says my dad wants you to get me to kill myself. Sheaf says, and the pulling of the peaches to change the gender to make you look bad? Lame. Sheaf said, this is Easy's grandmama. My daughter has also killed herself because of you. Oh, you guys are so funny. You guys are so freaking funny. Haha, I'm laughing so hard right now. At, like, again, this is made without the proof that this person was faking it. You're just saying it because you don't like them. Listen, if Britt ever gets somebody to actually kill themselves, I hope that she gets fucking faced with the obituary so she can realize that this is something she actually has the capability to do. Like, how do you do that? I cannot imagine for the life of me doing that. Yes, there's a lot of people faking suicide and attempts and mental health issues on the internet. Yes. It's why it's important to actually talk to people and get evidence. But to just assume a minor attempted on their life when there's people who corroborate that story because you don't like them after you targeted an entire harassment campaign at them is insane. Lyle, pretty sure she's still in Malcolm's server, by the way. I wouldn't be surprised. Stupid as it sounds, maybe this causes people to realize that Britt is a bad person. You know, apart from the sharing CP on Tumblr, and sharing it again, and driving a child to attempt on their life because we cannot be normal about children on the internet, and the comments about a 15-year-old's body after you found out that they were 15. Maybe, you know, enough reason to remove somebody from a Discord server, but that's, you know, it's up to you. It's up to you, Malcolm. Just hope you make better choices. There are more jokes about the situation from these people, but I'm going to spare you. The sheer glee coming from these messages about a teenager potentially making an attempt on their life speaks volumes. This is what people think is accountability. These are the people chest beating about saving children, and we're supposed to believe them? Conclusion. The anti-Lily community has continuously shot itself in the foot and Lily's alleged victim by proxy because they've prioritizing farming the shock value of the allegations for attention over getting any victim's actual justice. One of the biggest concerns throughout this has been not media takes or petty grievances, but Lily's documented, repeatedly inappropriate interactions with young fans. These people do not care about the safety of children. This is about satisfying bloodlust and pointing fingers at often vulnerable people without real evidence. When they do have evidence, they mishandle it and obstruct justice. They are a danger to any victims they come into contact with because they either tokenize their abuse or weaponize their traumas against them out of pure spite. May the bridges they've burned set them on fire. For anyone sitting on the fence about any of this within that community, ask yourself, does this undo what happened to you in the past? Does it soothe the pain and help you heal and move on? Or are you continuously ripping open old wounds as catharsis or to save other people? Do you think people pushing you to do this have good intentions and your well-being in mind? Thank you for reading this document, and thank you again for everyone who helped make it possible. Fucking Lyle Conway, they're currently defending his file, so no. Props and hands, why can't we be normal? Okay, so let's just look into the other side tabs I have here, because I'm curious about them. Presented without any further commentary. Okay, so these are more conversations with Lily. Let's see. I'm just gonna skim through them to see if there's anything important in here. Ooh! What? What is it you want? You were supposed... Hello? Knock knock?
Well, now I'm not going to say it because now you're being mean about it.
What do you want? Why do you distract me? Huh? Weren't you supposed to go?
Wow.
Okay, fantastic. Let's see. Is there anything else in here that matters?
Christ wept today.
Yeah, kinda. Let's see. That is weird. It was freaky. You're gonna be alright. So these are just more like logs between Lily and Britt. I see. Okay, so this is Lily linking a not safe for work Tumblr. It's a place for not safe for work questions about the Stockholm series, and not safe for work found out if ever. Oh, Britt, you knew about Stockholm, huh? Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so they're talking about scripts, self-defense, feminism, talking about cuddling. Okay. Again, I'm just scrolling through this to see if there's... Okay, so this is the conversation about the jailbait. Okay. Found it here. That's the jailbait conversation. Let's see what else is there. More jailbait. Once I get my new compy, I'm back into Second Life. I've had ideas kicking around my head. There's a lot of honey furs on Second Life. That would pay for a good time. Okay. So they just switch from, like, calling a child jailbait and talking about, like, fantasies of being with minors into, like, horny furries. Okay, that's normal. I'm not keen on the idea of wow rep I may get being gold shy furry whore. Okay, thank you, Britt. Appreciate that. Britt Ying's... This is... I'm pretty sure Yiffy is a not safe for work site.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not clicking that. Okay, so you're what? Britt. Do you want to talk about that? Do we want to have a conversation about what you just put there? Is that like a thing we want to talk about? I'm just... Okay, sure. Through you and ask. I don't ask, okay. Okay, blah. You have a rude or abrasive personality type. Okay, how you doing? You want to talk about it? You fucking serious? You're gonna pull this contrary bullshit now? You came to talk to me, now you won't fucking do it? Okay. I've been spending quite a bit of time... Okay, so this is just... If you want to continue having to have me in your life, you can come fucking talk to me. Good luck with your girl and your channel. Messaging you to let you know that Haley Gorenik doesn't extend. Jesse Ensley. Okay. Okay, remember Britt has insisted that minors should have access to her blocks. Okay, awesome. So are we gonna... Oh, she's describing it here. Okay, let's see. I went back and looked at the screenshots of the Google Drives for the accounts. This is a Google Drive that Britt linked, by the way, just to 3D pics and videos from Drax, who also goes by Lasto, who's a photorealistic artist specializing in Loda and Chile under the age of 10, as well as show lollipop. Okay. Children perform. She's a video. No. No, we're not reading through that chat. We're not reading through that chat. No. None of that.
Great.
None of that. We're not. Nope. So much nope. Let's just talk about how this. Nope. Britt versus Easy. This is a continuation of the section regarding Britt being kicked from a server. There's a screenshot from the final argument. Some of you may disagree with the criticism that Britt gets here. Okay. So this is just more conversations about the Easy thing. Okay. Just gonna scroll through this. I see. Oh, okay, this is more of the racism conversation, I think. Okay, I see. This silly stuff. You know what? Why not? Let's end on this silly stuff. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna make this clear now. I have a video project in the works that I want to finish first, right? But I am thinking about making a video on Britt because I've noticed a lot of people have no fucking clue who this person is. So... Also, I like how half of you show up right as I'm finished with the doc and we went over the worst fucking sections. Appreciate you guys so much.